You just gotta lint roll everything. Like I make it a habit to like I lint roll the bed because we're fine if the cat sleeps on the bed with us. We've got a couple pillows, and so she's she likes to sleep like on top of the pillows. Yeah. And she's got Steve. Steve is my cat's husband. Steve is a red dog stuffed animal that she is obsessed with. And she curls up with Steve every night. And so we keep Steve in between the pillows for her. So, every morning I wake up and she's just right there, cuddling with Steve. And then there's just cat hair all over the pillows, all over the bed, all over everything. But it's, I wouldn't have it any other way. My cat's a sweetie.
Yeah, well, and it's cute how they have little relationships with things like that. I saw this video on social media, and I think it was real. Like, I have to imagine it wasn't like a trick, because it was so cute. And it was a dog playing with its favorite treat, or its favorite toy, I mean. Mm-hmm. And then the human comes out dressed as the toy.
I love that.
And the dog like starts jumping.
Yes.
Jumps on the human. It's like the cutest thing
I know what you're talking about.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's the
because
best.
The dog thinks that it's its toy in human form.
Yes.
Like in the dog's mind, that's real.
Yes. Because it is real.
Because it is. And that's so cute.
It's the best. It's the best. It's
I
adorable.
mean, like, Oscar loves, squirrels are bred into his mind. So if you get little, like, squirrel toys, like if you have something shaped like that as a toy, he loves that type of thing. Yeah. I mean, it's just, we were talking beforehand a little bit ago, just how animals are like that. They've got their own little quirks about them. Like, but yeah, they all have their own personalities too. Like, not only do breeds have their own different individual things about them, and they're also different, but every single animal is just so different. It's like that's why I always say you're getting a pet, it really is like getting a kid in so many ways. I mean, people say it's not, but it is. I mean,
it is.
They all have a personality, they all have their own problems. Like, it could be a medical issue that the animal has you would never predict. Same thing happens with humans.
I mean,
crazy.
I mean, it's I don't remember what the quote is, but it's something like people who, oh my God, what is it? Something about like people who think they want human kids really want dogs, and people who think they want dogs really want cats. And it's just something about how because I totally get it, because like I didn't have any pets until I moved in with my fiance about a year ago, and but like having a dog, and well, we had 2 cats. One of them passed away recently, very suddenly.
R.I.P.
He had a bunch of medical issues already. He had he's like a wobbly cat, so he had, I don't remember the condition's called, but he had like underdeveloped part of his brain, and so he had all these like spatial issues. He was very wobbly. He had seizures. And then he had the seizures, and they couldn't stop it, and so we'd have put him down about a month ago.
Damn.
So yeah, fucking sucks, because he was my favorite.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have favorites, but he was my favorite. But yeah, it's hard, Yeah. It's rough. It's brutal.
And there's no right answers either. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no like proper thing to do, especially in a situation like that. I mean, holy shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're probably telling you like, yeah, we can fix it. It's just going to cost $50,000 or whatever they say.
I mean, they were the animal ER that we took him to. Like they, like we took him in the afternoon, and they were just like, yeah, we like can't stop the seizures, but even if we could stop it long enough to like figure out what's going on, we don't know what his quality of life is going to be, because when you have like so many seizures like that just has like such a permanent impact on the brain.
Sorry about that, sir.
It's all good.
We'll just dub it over in post.
All right, want to get off to a real start?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now my gaffer's just about to show up. But I mean, like, it's it's a good spot for us to, I guess, move into the meat of things, right? Where it is loads, yes. Or I guess Kino Crew Productions in general. But I mean, like, that is the latest project from Kino Crew Productions. You are the latest representative of Kino Crew Productions sent to Ruse HQ to represent Kino Crew Productions. So, I mean, like, I feel like I should just hand the baton off to you, let the people know what is Kino Crew and what is about to happen, what do they have to look forward to, all of that.
Yeah, so, man, I mean, Kino Crew, it's a partnership between myself, Alexander Perez, and Nathan Oker. The three of us met back in 2014, a little bit before we all finished college. Yeah, I mean, the three of us, you know, we just have always just loved making movies together. So we've been making short films together for... I don't know, between basically 2014 onward. And at a certain point, I think it was in like 2020, we had plans to shoot a short film that Alex had written called Cottonmouth. And so we had plans to shoot that in like late of March 2020. So obviously that didn't pan out because of all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
And then, like a few months later when things kind of started to get back to normal, we ended up, we were just sort of like, we should actually because we have all these ideas. We've been collecting all these ideas for such a long time. The three of us have such a good working relationship. We should just start like our own actual production company. So we sat down, we started, brainstorming ideas, company plans, all these things. And then that just kind of developed into Kino Crew. I mean, our working relationships have changed insofar as that we hold, regular meetings and things like that. But when we're on set and all the pre-production and the post-production process, I mean, it's basically the same as it's always been. I mean, it's, the three of us work so well together. I think we all sort of, cover off each other's strengths and weaknesses and things like that. It's just been a pleasure working with these guys and sort of collecting all of these other collaborators over the years, collecting actors and musicians and just performers.
Do you feel like you've built a group of people that you can rely on at this point? Because I mean, that's something you'll notice in the film industry in general. Yeah. That's why you'll see directors who always have their cast of characters they always like to make movies with. Also, chaos here on Ruse Radio. Oh, the kitty cat is coming back over here, but I'm just going to throw this facto over to you. If you see her jump over on that door, you have the reach. You have the arms that are capable of opening that door. Got it. She's going over there. Look at this. Look at this. She wants it open. This is a Ruse Radio moment right here. This is classic. This is great podcast content. Yeah. Appreciate you. No problem. But
if it starts making more noise, I can pop it back over.
Yeah. But we were saying Kino Crew. What we were saying right before the cat popped up right there.
Yes.
Messed me up. But Kino Crew, and just like the three of you, all of you working together, all of this. Yes, I feel like I was just about to say something. What were we saying right before that? Was there something good?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how well the three of us work together and forming collective, collecting other
directors
individuals
and having all these
people.
Directors and having all these people, because when a director gets all these people together, it just makes sense. I think it's like people who don't do things that much look from the outside looking in, and it's easy to look at that and be like, oh, so it's like there's an in-group and you have to be nice to people and suck up to people. Like, people have a negative, pessimistic outlook on those things, I've noticed. But truthfully, if you're someone who's ever done anything for long enough, especially in filmmaking, these realms, you have to be cooperative and agreeable, and you have to get. Eventually, you do end up having a circle of people because you just like working with certain people more. It's like a truth of life.
Exactly.
Why would you not? Why would you force yourself to work with all these people you don't want to work with, especially if you're a director. If you're a director and you just know that working with this guy is never going to work, it's not going to work, but he's like the hot new guy in Hollywood. Like, you shouldn't subject yourself to that. You just work with Leonardo DiCaprio for the 100th time again. You just do that.
And I think a big part of it, especially in Hollywood, I mean, it's such a hard thing to like get anything made, really. Like, even if you're a big name, I mean, like, it took, Martin Scorsese like however many years to make like Killers of the Flower Moon, and he basically had to go to like Apple to do that.
It took him that long?
It took him a few years, and because like no one wanted to like fund it, because he had done The Irishman for Netflix. And then like no other like major studio wants to pay for like $200 million for this big like prestige film or however much it cost.
Wow.
And I don't remember if it was actually that much money, but point being is that like he ends up going to these streamers because no one wants to fund his films. But then like at a certain point, like it just makes more sense to just work with people that because you can write roles for these people, and I think part of it is I mean, obviously, like I've never worked any like major Hollywood thing like that, obviously, but like we've worked with Nicole Perez and Kyle Slagle, which is Alex's sister, one of Alex's sisters and brother-in-law. And, they've been together for, I think, something like 10 or 11 years as a couple. They've been married. They've got a couple kids. But, like, we've put them together, like, in acting roles opposite each other because we know how to communicate with them. And we know that their chemistry is, like, off the fucking charts. So it makes sense for us to write roles for people that we know are going to just kill it.
Yeah.
And I think that extends to Hollywood too. I mean, I think if you look at Mike Flanagan, he did Hill House, and on Netflix he did Dr. Sleep. He did I'm trying to think of what else. Those are like I think a couple of the big things that he's known for. He did Midnight Mass, if you ever saw that on Netflix.
I heard of the first two. I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Definitely worth checking out. He's been doing a bunch of like Stephen King adaptations lately.
Okay. Like Dr. Sleep.
Yes, like Dr. Sleep. And I know that he's doing a new Carrie adaptation, which I'm really excited about. But basically, whenever a new project of his comes out, he's like, hey, this is the cast. And it's like the same like 12 people that he's worked with on all these other projects, because he knows that he can work with them, and he's writing roles for these people, and he's really just he's making movies with his friends.
Yeah. And
I think it's a much more enjoyable experience to work with people that you like working with, because it is a job, like people who are doing this on such like a large scale, they're here to like they're here to express themselves through their art, but they're also here to make money. And if you're gonna, put on this like colossal production, do it with people that you like working with.
Another one, Wes Anderson, right?
Yes,
he does the same thing.
He's one of those guys that
him
just
and Adam
collects
Sandler.
people.
Adam Sandler comes to mind too.
Yeah, Adam Sandler's whole thing is he's just like, I just want to make a movie with my friends.
Yeah, and he openly says it. He says that exact phrase. Like he doesn't even paraphrase it at all. He just says, "I want to make movies with my friends."
Yeah,
it is a tax haven. That's exactly what it is.
Exactly, and there's I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, like for some of these guys, it's just like like get your bag, but also it's at least for guys like Adam Sandler, it's it's fun to watch him like stretch and do something different. It's fun to watch him in something like Uncut Gems.
Oh yeah,
or Punch Drunk Love.
That's Punch Drunk Love. We were talking about Paul Thomas Anderson. Punch Drunk Love is one of like the greatest examples of like just Adam Sandler. I mean the people who made Uncut Gems attributed what they saw at Adam Sandler to Punch Drunk Love. It's the same exact thing the Safdie brothers said. If we hadn't seen that, like, because we had always wanted to put him in a serious role like this movie, and like you were saying, like writing with people in mind, they wrote that with Adam Sandler in mind, which is just crazy. The stars even align and they actually get him on the movie.
Exactly. I mean,
such a crazy place to start from. Let's get Adam Sandler to star in our movie about a guy that works at a pawn shop in New York.
Exactly.
He's gonna want to do it. For sure. Trust me.
Yeah, right?
The amount of confidence they must have had when they tried to sell him on that.
Yeah, and I think that it proves, at least for a guy like Adam Sandler, like he is talented. And
he's so talented.
And he's far more talented than I think, like, even he gives himself credit for.
Right. Well, I think smarter people, like, I think it's one of those like paradoxes in life where the dumber people are the smarter people and the smarter people are the dumber people.
Sure.
Like if you're actually smart, you do underplay your intelligence a lot of the time, and you don't reveal how smart you are. And that's like, I mean, if you're someone who's not so smart, then you end up like pretending you're too smart, and then or you use your book knowledge and you put that on too much, and that puts you in situations. Like, I think the truly smart thing to do is to sort of hang back a lot of the time.
Right.
It's what a Jedi warrior, what a ninja would do. You know, I think that's what an Adam Sandler does.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
David Lynch. I mean, David Lynch is another one of those directors that I just, all of the choices that he makes, it seems like everything he does is so like one step ahead, you know, in this weird way.
Yeah, especially my fiance and I were I've been showing her Twin Peaks. She'd never seen it before, and it's fascinating watching that, because I'd seen it, I think the last time I'd watched it was probably maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and I feel like every time I come back to it, it's just like, you know, you see all these new layers and things like that, but like we'll be watching it and she'll just be like laughing at how like fucking silly the whole thing is. Because it's just like these high school teens are getting in way over their heads, and then you like forget that they're in high school because they're not in school. Yeah. And then suddenly it cuts to them and they're like in school, and it's like, oh wait, we forgot that these people are supposed to be like 18 years old. Yeah. These are basically like children doing all this crazy shit. But then it plays into all of these, you know, these like major heavy themes about, you know, like the perils of suburbia, and, you know, like sexual assault and violence and, you know, domestic things, and because it's so fucking heavy, and it's just like, but it on the surface it is just so like, it's basically just kind of like a soap opera.
Yeah. I haven't rewatched it since I first saw it, so that would be quite a trip.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything before the reveal of Laura Palmer's murderer, I think, like, because again, like the show, the way it explores all those topics, like you just said, I think like it's able to do that because of the amount of mystery and intrigue that the show has. There's a certain amount of like suspense and like metaphysical horror that's going on, to where like you can explore these things without people taking it so seriously, even though you are showing crazy things like domestic violence and murder. You're able to get away with it on daytime, well, maybe on daytime TV, but still, I mean, far as I know, it was the first like water cooler show, like the first show where people were watching a weekly episodic thing and talking about it at work the next time, like, oh, who killed Laura Palmer? Who could it possibly be? And so, I think like the shame of that show is it could have went for so much longer. You
think?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, have you seen David Lynch talking about exactly what I just said? Well, that revealing the murderer is what ruined it. Because that's the golden goose that lays all the eggs. That's how he described it. Because you could have just kept going with that.
And there is like, because I don't remember what episode that, the most recent episode we'd watched. We saw the reveal of the killer, and then I think we're maybe like 4 episodes past that.
I want to say it's halfway through season 2.
I think it's about like 18 episodes in or something like that. But there's like a very noticeable fall off.
Yep.
Very steep, very noticeable fall off. And it's, you know, and my thinking is that, like, you know, they could have continued to prolong that. But also I think, you know, whenever I watch The Return, if you've like, I feel like it was meant to have ended when it did.
Well, and David Lynch came back for the last couple episodes of season 2, and you can tell, because again, like what you're saying, the drop off, he somehow managed to pull it all together at the very end, and then also the movie Fire Walk with Me kind of does justify a lot of the things that happen in the same way, where it kind of makes it feel all meant to be.
Exactly. It definitely.
The season 3 was crazy. I mean, it's crazy it even happened. And with David Lynch passing away just recently, before we talk about this, I mean, it's so great that it happened. I mean, thinking about like another like Star Wars or Jurassic Park, like two things where they did get them all back together, but it didn't have the same magic as the original.
Right.
Like, it's amazing that Twin Peaks came back and it still was almost even more David Lynch. I mean, certainly more David Lynchian than the original for sure. I mean, like, which, for better or worse, because I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who are fans of the original series who liked the whole soap opera, that angle a lot more.
Yeah.
So when they watch the pacing of the return, they probably get turned off of it. But the genius of someone like David Lynch is, like, as I said when I brought him up, he's one of those people where I feel like it's always a couple steps ahead. Like, if you go back and watch the things he does, it's just so, all the choices he's making. It's almost like a Kaufman-esque thing. Like, it serves a purpose. It's just hard to understand, especially in an 18 episode. It's basically you're watching an 18-hour movie, and it's edited to be that way.
He wrote and directed every single episode of The Return.
It's
like,
crazy.
It was 100% him. I mean, like, I know, most of the time in TV shows, you have a writer's room, and, like, the production schedules are crazy and things like that. But he's just like, the fact that anyone gave him money to do a third season. And the fact that he was able to get together a lot of the cast and get those sets back together and go back to those places and just, like, explore these, like, completely radically different characters and these radically different stories. I mean, it's just a miracle. And it's interesting that what you said about Lynch, how the way he, like, holds things back. I watched part of his, after he died, I watched part of his, probably about like 3/4 of his masterclass. And it was interesting because most of what he talks about, because, they talk about, like, what is it, like, one of those things where it's like, how do you cast a movie? How do you write a movie? How do you do all these things? And for almost everything, he's just like, it's intuition.
I bet.
And he's just like, if you have an idea,
follow the muse.
Yeah, he's just like, if you have an idea, write it down, and then, like, and that's it. He's just like, if you feel something, write it down.
If you're sleeping and you wake up in the middle of the night, make sure to have a pen nearby.
Like, literally, yeah. I mean, like, his whole thing is just running.
I paid $100 for this.
His whole thing is just running off of, like, intuition and dreams and concepts.
It's so funny because it would have been my first guess. If you were to ask me and not tell me before, I would have said exactly that.
But it's fascinating listening to him actually talk about it.
Because you know what? He's like he's one of those few people who's actually like a Zen philosopher.
Yes.
Yeah, he really is. Like almost like a Rick Rubin. Like, when you listen to them talk, you're like, wow, he's thinking of art in a completely different way than most people. And that's why he's almost like a guru more than an artist.
But it's interesting because, like, he makes it sound so simple.
Right.
Like, because I've got, notebook, I write ideas down, stuff like that. I keep one next to my bed, and, it's not like I'm writing there every night, but every now and then, it's just like, oh, there's an idea, let's jot that down. And sometimes I'll wake up and I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. I was just half asleep, whatever. But, like, I'll write down dreams. I had a few years ago, I had this crazy, bizarre dream that I turned into a script, like a 5-page short. And it's like, that's one of those like dream projects that I want to do at some point. But, like, the way that he talks about dreams and intuition and, following kind of, like that cosmic, creative, inner universe thing, he's just like, yeah, write it down.
Yeah.
And you're like, tell them that that's what you want. And, I'm just like, God, it's not, I wish it were that simple. Like, I mean, the guy has spent, his entire career making just, the things that came to him. And whenever you watch something that clearly had other people's hands on it, like if you watch his adaptation of Dune, or if you watch like those other rougher episodes of Twin Peaks, you can see that it's not him. And you can see that, there's other people sort of like meddling with things a little bit. And I know that, like, the whole thing is like the whole creative process, filmmaking, it is like a collaborative effort. But, it's interesting watching, you'll watch 2 episodes of Twin Peaks, and one of them is not directed by Lynch, the other is directed by Lynch, and you're just like, this is like 2 completely different things.
Yeah.
And it's nuts that he was able to make a career off of just like basically just like following his gut.
Yeah.
For however many years.
I don't even know if it's possible anymore to like come into the world as a David Lynch. And I mean,
so
maybe
hard.
What's that one guy who made the movie The Lobster?
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah, he's probably the closest thing maybe to a modern David Lynch. Like someone who's popular in cinema releasing artsy, abstract, like against the grain films like that.
Yes.
Because like, yeah, it's just so hard to think of somebody who's actually doing it. It's hard. I mean, and especially I think in the way that the world is now, because I think something about David Lynch that's very distinct about him is his pacing. Like it's particularly slow, which is on purpose. But to do that now, it would probably be a lot harder to popularize something like that.
Exactly.
Just his pace is so slow.
Exactly.
Because he wants to... He'll build up suspense for nothing, and that'll be the trick he's playing on you. It'll just be a bunch of suspense for absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But then there's like moments where one great one is... what is it? It's Mulholland Drive, I think it is, and it's the whole diner scene where the guy goes outside, and then there's by the dumpster, boom, there it is. And it's one of the few moments where David Lynch actually does have something pop out and scare you.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's just so abstract that it's scary. It's not even like a jump scare like a traditional one that's like boom. It's just so creepy, just because that's what he's so good at. And I think that's real horror. Horror should be something that's like, I don't understand what this is, how this is supposed to make me feel.
Exactly.
I don't like this. That should be horror. It shouldn't be like boom, scary. Ooh, because that's simple. That's almost like it's like to me that's the comedy equivalent of dick jokes. It's like going for the lowbrow, easy thing, or you go for like the psychological thing that's deeper, that's harder to achieve, and like that's good horror to me.
Exactly. And then I think to that end, like I brought up Mike Flanagan before, and I think that his works, they are so character driven, and they are so much more interesting than any other like horror filmmaker out there today. I mean, I think that he's got a lot more range. I think I know he just put out a new film called The Life of Chuck, which is based on a short Stephen King story. It's not a horror story though. I haven't seen it yet though. But it's supposed to be good. But I think that like his ability really just lies in his character work and building tension. And I think that when like if you watch like The Haunting of Hill House, there's not a lot of jump scares, but when there are jump scares, they feel earned, because they've been building up suspense, and then they but it's not like, it's not like a character is like walking around a creepy house and opening the doors and then boom, there's like a scary thing. It's like two characters are having like a conversation, and then like suddenly there's just like something there. But it happens so infrequently that every single time it happens, it feels earned. And even some of the jump scares come at like really like pivotal moments where it's the jump scare. It's less about like like you should be scared of this thing. It's like, what does the jump scare reveal? And it's something like super fucked up that there's like a twist like halfway through Hill House that completely recontextualizes like the first few episodes.
Okay.
And that's sort of presented kind of as like a jump scare, but then as the scene progresses, you're like, oh wait, this is like really fucked up, and that's kind of what makes it more memorable. I think Midnight Mass is another one of his films that's great, or not films, series. It's just like a limited series, but it's kind of like the same thing where the best parts of that show are these like really intense conversations between all of these characters, and sort of like realizing like what like what all of these characters are going through, and realizing what the stakes are through that. And like by the time you get to the end of that one too, it's just like, holy fuck. Yeah. And I think that, like he's, of all the, at least for my opinion. Like, of all the horror filmmakers out there right now, I think no one's doing it better than him. I know that a really interesting one that he had done. If you ever saw the Ouija board movie,
it was just called Ouija.
It was just called Ouija.
I didn't see it though.
But then it's one of those movies that came out like at the right time over the summer. Had to cast a bunch of unknowns. They made it for no money. People saw it. It made enough money to get a sequel. Flanagan did the sequel, and it was good. So you've got this like, the first Ouija movie is just like, it's just kind of like, it's like 90 minutes of just kind of like trash, and 90 minutes of just like, we have to get to the jump scares. And then they're just like, okay, we want to do a sequel because this made money. Let's get this random guy who did, I don't remember what he had done before that. But they're like, let's just get this guy because he has an idea, right? And he makes like this like 2-hour, like phenomenal character study about this girl and her mom, and it takes place in like the same house, and it's like the origins of the Ouija board, and it's like pretty good for like a sequel to a movie that no one really liked.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, he's just like, like everything that he's done from that point on, I think is just terrific.
Huh.
He's definitely worth checking out. It's his horror, I think, is much more existential than most horror filmmakers who just kind of want to like jump out and scare you.
What do you think of Ari Aster? You like his movies?
I do.
Yeah. I didn't see his latest one, but was afraid. I didn't see that one, but I saw all the other ones.
Yeah, so. Midsommar and Hereditary. Yeah, I think those are great. I mean, it's again like it's one of those things where it's, I think Hereditary is probably his most like normal. I guess. I mean, like it's pretty scary, but it's very effective,
right?
Especially in the like
third
that
act,
final stretch. Yeah.
Third act is where it goes like balls to the wall.
Exactly.
You're like, wait a minute, whoa.
But you're right. But you've got like so much build up to that
I
point.
feel like the movie did nothing to prepare you for that. Like especially, I mean, the way the twist at the end of the first act, I would say, which. Wild.
Yes, crazy.
Nothing could prepare you for that either.
Yeah.
Like that movie just catches you off guard and then it ends. It does it twice and then it ends. That's kind of what it does.
Yeah.
It's a very effective movie.
Yeah. And then you've got Midsommar, which is just like, it just feels like dread.
Yeah.
There's like this impending sense of dread throughout the entire thing that just never really stops.
I feel like it's one of those movies, Midsommar, it kind of reminds me of like when you're watching like one of those videos on a gore website you're not supposed to be watching. Like that's how that movie feels to watch. It's like, I should turn this off. Okay. This is not something I'm supposed to see.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty dirty movie.
Yeah.
But it's filmed beautifully. That's another thing about it. Midsommar is a gorgeous, dirty movie.
There aren't many like daylight horror films either.
Oh,
like,
that's a great point.
They go really far out of the way to bring out like the pastel colors.
Yeah.
It has a gorgeous color palette. I mean, like most of the movie takes place during the day.
That is such a good point.
Yeah, and but like all the flowers, the sky is always like a pastel blue, pastel green grass, I
mean, the movie even the final shot, it's like a cascade of colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The flowers and everything.
Yeah, it's very, my senior research paper in high school was on color theory in film.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
it's such an interesting thing, like color theory and the way that colors. There's, as we were talking about people who edit trailers and there being agencies for that.
Yes.
There's also agencies for people who do the colors for movies. We're talking about you film it, you have a flat color grade, everything's flat, you send it over, you tell them like this is the vibe of the movie, this is what it's supposed to be. They say, all right, that movie's blue and orange.
Yeah.
And then they make it blue and orange.
Yeah, I mean
it's crazy.
I know that they do that for I think those agencies are mostly used for like TV production because they got to turn those out. Yeah.
So much color theory in Breaking Bad. I mean, that's like one show where you can find videos online where they're talking about it, and there's graphs people have made of like the way they do the wardrobe for each character. Yeah. Like it changes like a color grade throughout the seasons. Yeah. Like Walt wears pink on like very specific occasions, like 3 times in the show, like shit like that, where it's just it always means something. Anytime you see a color, it means something because they've established that it does. Like not only does it mean something psychologically, because it does, it's a subconscious thing, but they've established that they're doing that, and so you kind of learn to expect it. And I think that shit is so cool. You know? Yeah. And film can do that. You can. That's one of those things you can only truly achieve. And I mean, you can do it in a photograph, but it's it's a passing thing. In a film, you can really create such a mood. I mean, The Matrix is a prime example of color grade in action.
Exactly. And I think what's interesting about, you mentioned. Oh my God, I'm completely blanking out on.
It makes me feel better about my blank earlier.
Oh my God, right? But yeah.
I could also say though, I don't want to cut you off.
Go for it, please.
Go for it. Aspect ratio. I was going to say aspect ratio.
Keep the show going.
Because that's something you did with Loads.
Oh, I have lots to say about aspect ratio.
You use different aspect ratios in Loads, and that's something I noticed. And I think that's always a choice, and that's one that you don't see often. So to do it is a bold choice. I think that the way that you did it in Loads, if I was to interpret it as a viewer, is that his state of mind when he was the load buster is 16 by 9 or whatever it is, the wider one.
I think we did
21 by 9 maybe.
I think it was 2 point. It was either it's either like it's either 235, 239, or 24. I don't remember. I think we did 24. We did the post a while ago.
This
so it's
monitor I have, it's right off camera here.
Okay.
But like whenever I see like a movie that's in that ultra wide thing, it fits that monitor, and that monitor is 21 by 9.
Yeah.
So I think it's 21 by 9.
So it's the aspect ratio. It's
unless it's something unconventional that you did.
No,
I think it's 21 by 9. I'm almost 100% sure that's the usual one. Like it's 16 by 9 would fit that screen there.
Yeah.
And then 21 by 9 is when you cut off the top and the bottom with the black bars.
I think when you cut the top and bottom off. Okay, I don't know math. I don't know math, but I know when I'm looking at something. Oh, this is the aspect ratio of what I'm watching.
Right.
But like, if you were to fill up that entire screen, like
16
a standard
by 9.
TV, it's 16 by 9. But traditionally, it's called. It's called 185.
Oh, so, really?
Then,
okay.
Yeah. So then you have two. It's easier with like a visual aid.
I get what you're saying.
Throw up a visual aid.
It's almost like I was measuring it in like inches, and you were measuring it in the metrics, and the other one, the metric system.
However, it's done like more traditionally. But you've got like Academy ratio, which is 1:3:3, which is more like square.
Right.
And that just goes back because that's when they were first making films. That was how they like had to do it. You've got like 185, which is basically like if you were to fill a standard TV, a standard 16 by 9 TV to like its fullest capacity.
Okay.
And then when you get the black bars, even on a standard TV, that would be like 235, 239, 24, which are all like, they're all pretty close to the same thing. I think like 2.239 and 24 are like, I think that's more like modern digital filmmaking. But if you watch like an older film shot on film, it would be like 235.
Yeah.
And then you've got some less conventional sizes like 166, which are closer to 185. It's easier with the visual aid.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, though. I think it does make a difference. I think aspect ratio makes a... I mean, you could say with, the Justice League re-release they did, where they cut into a square.
Right.
Or I think a recent example is Dune 2. I don't know if they did it with Dune 1.
They did.
They re-released it in a whole new aspect ratio.
I think they did a little bit with Dune 1. I know that for Dune 2, they shot parts of it in IMAX.
Right, yeah.
But
if you look at the IMAX and then the regular one, I mean, you are getting, it's almost like a different thing. I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I don't know. Like, it's kind of different than traditional filmmaking when you're getting two shots at once like that. And I mean, almost always when you're behind the camera, the goal is we get the shot.
Right.
Not we get the shot and
part of a shot.
Yeah, part of a shot. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean what they'll do is they'll shoot films. I mean, typically for like IMAX, it's mostly done with IMAX films, or anything using like an IMAX camera or an IMAX format camera. But they'll shoot something, and then for like a standard film release, they'll just crop the shot.
Right.
So like if you're watching something like Dune Part 2 in particular, I went to go see it in IMAX, and like everything in that like tall aspect ratio, I think that's like 1:9.
Yeah.
All of that is like gorgeous, and there's so much to see. And when the fucking sandworms come out at the end, they're beautiful, and they're not cut off. But then when you go and you watch like the Blu-ray or something like that, or you go see it in like a standard theater, it'll be presented in like 2:3:5 in like that standard like black bar on the top of your TV aspect ratio, and that sucks because you're losing like half of a sandworm,
right?
And you're losing half of a ship, you're losing half the horizon, you're losing half the characters, like you're losing so many things, and it's.
Which, by the way, if you actually did the math, is probably millions of dollars. You just cut off the screen.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't even make sense to me. Like, I think there should just be an intended experience, and then also the bonus one. Not two different versions that are presented to the audience as the proper version.
Yeah.
Because one is the real one. I mean, like, it's kind of the confusing thing about director's cuts too, like when you would see that, because like if I'm the casual audience, I see that and I think director's cut means real version. That's what I think, but that's not necessarily what that means.
Yeah,
director's cut just means the director had to acquiesce to a bunch of stuff for this release, and then now his version is where he gets to shine. He gets to include all those scenes he had to cut for time and this and that. That's really all it means. It's not the real version. I mean, not. What does that even really mean? So it just makes me think, like, it's almost like an existential question at that point. Like, what is if you release a movie twice and then you do that, what is the real intention? Like with Justice League and re-releasing it as a square, like, okay, so what even is that then? Like, what are we doing now? It's kind of confusing. I
do have some answers.
Okay.
So at least for Justice League, because I think about this a lot and I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Because like when they were shooting that first Justice League, Zack Snyder had to drop out for various reasons, and then they had Joss Whedon finish it, and it sucked.
Right.
And then he's like, I want to do my own version of it, or finish like my version of it.
I forgot about all that.
And so yeah, but his whole thing is like, if this were to come out in theaters and not just dumped on a streaming service, it would be like, I want to completely fill an IMAX frame. So everything was done in that square aspect ratio, and his whole theory behind it, which is like yes and no, at least for just my opinion, like as someone who takes an interest in like how aspect ratios like work to a film's advantage. I think that if you're going to be shooting something for streaming or editing something for streaming or presenting something that's going to be primarily seen on streaming, then you should probably have it be more presentable for streaming, because what he wanted to do using a square aspect ratio, he's like, this is going to be how it was intended to be seen on IMAX screens, but no one saw it on IMAX screens. So it feels a little like disingenuous to be like, I want to present this on an IMAX screen, in the biggest way possible, and it's shot so that way it completely fills that format. But also, no one's going to be able to see it because it's not coming to theaters. It's not going to be in IMAX theaters. It's just going to be dumped on streaming. So when you're watching it on a TV with black bars on the sides, it feels way smaller than I think that he intended to.
Yeah.
I understand that he's like, I'm going to take full creative control. I get it. But at the same time, I'm just like, maybe that's one of those like creative decisions that maybe you should have like rethought. But then what you were saying about like director's cuts, I feel like oftentimes the only person who has good director's cuts is Ridley Scott, because like his cut of like Kingdom of Heaven is really good, and he's got a few that are like actually better than the original. I don't think that he fights with studios. I think he just like lets them do whatever, and then he's like, yeah, they'll let me release a Blu-ray with my version later.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, what is your opinion on movie studios in 2025? I mean, like, do you think where do you think it's going? How do you think it is?
I think it's better than people give it credit for.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, like, a lot of things are fucked right now. The kind of things that studios want to put out, like the content or whatever, if you want to call it that, it's pretty rough. And a lot of it is just, especially for like streaming in particular, like Netflix will literally, like whenever they have something that like Netflix is personally financing, they will literally like have the writers like make sure that the script is written in such a way where events are recapped by characters on a more frequent basis, because they know that most of the time people who are watching are like half paying attention, which is really sad. And I've seen a couple of these movies and I'm just like, that feels like a weird dialogue choice because you're just telling us what we saw like 5 seconds ago. So like,
by the way, even video game cutscenes do this now.
Fair enough.
I mean, they did this in like, I think the Assassin's Creed game. There's a whole lot of that, like just cutscenes where it's like telling you what you just saw 30 seconds ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
They, to me, it's just like, for one, they're telling you how dumb they think you are. Like, it's just like you're breaking one of like the storytelling. You should treat the audience like it's smart, because like I think that's just gonna make people disengage more when you do that stuff. It's like now you're training them to disengage with it. Like you're just accepting that that's the way it is. Yeah, that's nuts to me. It's just so crazy.
And I
remember I think that came out like 6 months ago. It was not that long ago that became like a popular story.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, because what you're talking, I heard it. Maybe when I heard it, it wasn't new news, but I remember about 6 to 8 months ago.
You mean
something.
the Netflix thing?
Yeah. Because I mean, like, that's got to be a newer fad, a newer idea. That can't be something that's been around for 10 years. It's sometime in the last 5 years or so. There's probably been this movement for, hey, you know, nobody's watching anything anymore. They're just turning it on and putting it on in the background.
Exactly.
You know?
And I think part of it is that they're looking at all of these trends and analyzing all of these things, and they're looking at their data and they're just like, okay, this is what people want to see. This is what like pulls viewers in. This is what keeps people watching for longer amounts of time and things like that. But I guess, I don't know, as cynical as it is to be from all of like the large scale stuff that they put out, like, I don't know, like it's hard for me not to be really optimistic. I saw Sinners in a packed theater earlier this year, and I loved it. That was like a studio movie. They had like pretty good advertising. It had like really, really strong word of mouth. I'm like a huge sucker for the Mission Impossible movies. I saw that last one twice in theaters over opening weekend, and I just ate it up because I just can't not eat it up.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the James Gunn Superman coming out in a couple weeks. Like, I have a lot of faith in him as a comic book filmmaker. I don't think he's missed yet. And that's just looking at like the big tentpole things, you know. And obviously it's, it's easy to just look at those movies and just be like, okay, well, they're good, but they're not like, you know, they're just superhero movies. They're just franchises. They're just things that we already know and that we already see and that we already understand. But then, you know, you look at a success story like Sinners, and you know, there's tons of success stories that are of films that are smaller and they're making money, and, you know, things that are good. I mean, every year I feel like there's always, you know, a few movies that come out that really just blow me the fuck away.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you could at least say that the film industry at large is not what it was 15 years ago.
No,
because I mean, like, if you look at a calendar, we pick a year, we go on Google, we type in movies that came out in 2010, and you just look at maybe like summer of 2010, what was in theaters. It'd be like, holy shit, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that. Just the amount of movies that I don't think we realized how good we had it. Because like what you're saying is also true.
Yeah.
But I think you're somebody who is into movies and you know where to look. And I think for the casual viewer, like, that's kind of sucks. Like, you just don't have... You're getting spoon-fed a whole lot of bullshit, and then the occasional good movie.
That's fair.
And a lot of it just so happens to be a franchise, or it just so happens... Like, it has to fit this palette. And this book right here, I actually read this book, Writing Screenplays That Sell. It's funny because this book is written in, like, the 80s, and it's talking about Karate Kid, and it's trying to tell you, like, you have to consider what's commercially popular to some extent. And it's just funny because reading it from your 2025 lens, looking back at what they're saying in the 80s about being commercially viable with film, is just funny because the standards are so much. I think superhero movies really did a number, and Scorsese was completely right when he came out and said they just got a lot of flack for it.
No,
but he was right.
I agree with him completely.
Yeah.
But also, like, anything...
It's the amusement park. It's the...
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, I think that if it... As long as it makes you feel something, it's worth it.
It's not a movie.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not... But I think people missed the point of what he was saying. He was saying it wasn't cinema. Like, it's not
I agree completely.
The same thing.
I agree completely. And I think that the problem is that, at least with, like, Marvel in particular, something like Avengers Endgame doesn't work unless you've seen all the other movies.
Right.
But it still works, right? I mean, like, I went to go see that opening night, and I... loved it because I had already spent all this, the big asterisk is that I had already spent all this time watching these other movies.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you haven't, it doesn't have that same emotional impact.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do you...
I think even Avengers.
Where do you land?
The beginning of that... Because, that's something they could only ride for so long, and I think Endgame... it's going to be interesting to see where they're at moving forward, because I still think somewhere in my heart of hearts that Marvel can turn this ship around. I think DC has always been a rocky road, and it's just DC is kind of like, I hate to say it, but like somewhat of a laughing stock when it comes to like their track record, because I mean, fucking, they did Suicide Squad twice, dude.
Although the second one was good.
The second one was good, but they did the same movie within a 10-year span. What other studio can you think of that would have the nerve to do that?
They bungled it really hard, but I think the smartest thing they ever did was they snagged James Gunn to do the rest of them.
Well, it's funny, it lines up what you were saying before about James Gunn.
Yeah.
Because he's probably the perfect guy for that tone with Guardians of the Galaxy and everything he'd already done. He is a great guy to bring that back.
And I think
it's just DC in general. Like, it's just tough for them to get a stride going, it feels like. Whereas Marvel had such a stride going for so long. I mean,
strong
really
momentum.
From the jump with Iron Man up until Endgame, they somehow managed to have some type of... It's something I think that's like... It's a time capsule, because you can't do it anymore. When it was happening, I remember, like, I appreciated it because it reminded me of like what's good about a show, like what's good about what Twin Peaks established, like we said, was like a show where you can talk about it outside of it, and did you see this, and you can have a conversation surrounding it, and it's ongoing, and did you see the new one? That's what the Marvel movies were creating. They were creating this atmosphere of like each movie builds upon each other movie, and then Avengers did something unprecedented where it like, it's a crossover episode, but a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're used to that, but that was unheard of.
But then they were also able to keep doing that.
Yeah, and I think like what you just said too, making it universally translate and making it understandable to somebody who doesn't see every movie. That's something they were doing pretty well for most of the time, I think, until Endgame. Because after Endgame, they started doing all the shows, and then like a good spot where you can really see the divide start to like cause problems is they did WandaVision, and there's all this stuff going on in WandaVision, and then you watch the Doctor Strange movie, which is like their next big release. Everybody's got to see Doctor Strange. It's got all the 3 different Spider-Men. Oh my God, you have to see it, right? I mean, that was it. The multiverse with the...
Spider-Man had all 3 Spider-Man.
Oh, well, yeah.
Doctor Strange was Sam Raimi. The second one was Sam Raimi, who had done the original Spider-Man trilogy.
Yes. But I mean, I am right at the very least that it was the first like big one after Endgame where it's like, holy shit, we're doing this again.
I think the first big one after Endgame was Spider-Man.
Was it Spider-Man?
It was the
and then
third
Multiverse
Spider-Man
Madness
movie.
came after.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
You're right. Multiverse of Madness came after.
I'm
it's
pretty
just
sure
because
it was
Doctor
after,
Strange was in Spider-Man. That's what fucks me up.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was Spider-Man Far From Home or whatever it was. The third Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, Homecoming, and then
No Way Home.
No Way Home. Yeah, that's it. So No Way Home, you have all the different Spider-Men. It's the first one where you're coming back to this, but I think Yeah, I am mixing it up because I guess WandaVision must have came after that. I don't know.
I think
this is the whole point I'm making. The chronology gets weird, and then it's hard to follow, and you have to watch shows to understand movies.
Yeah,
and then it's like you watch.
Committing to that.
The point I was going to make is you watch Doctor Strange, and it doesn't even necessarily line up with WandaVision because now you're supposed to, watching Doctor Strange, think that Wanda is the ultimate villain, and also all of the context that they're establishing within Doctor Strange only makes sense if you've seen WandaVision. Right. They did nothing to make you understand it if you haven't seen one. Like, who are these kids? Who are these kids? I didn't watch WandaVision, so I remember watching Doctor Strange thinking, who the fuck are these kids that she cares so much about?
Exactly.
They gave me no context for this. She didn't have kids in Avengers.
Right. And and I think the problem is that they've just gotten way too big. Yeah. They've gotten way too big
and too ambitious.
But they know that a lot of people are relying on them to tie all these things together and to keep this, like this train rolling, because they know that people will, for the most part, they'll go see them. Like, even if it's not like a huge box office success, it still makes money.
Yeah, but they keep shit in the bed, though. I mean, with the new Captain America.
I'm not. My feeling on all the new Marvel stuff is like, it's got to be like pretty interesting or pretty new or have a pretty good creative team for me to go see in theaters now. I think the last one I saw in theaters actually might have been Doctor Strange.
Mine was, if it was the second one, it's Spider-Man. If it was, I saw Doctor Strange and Spider-Man in theaters. So whichever one came second.
Yeah. But both of those are just like, I mean, I like both of those because of what came before, but also like, I threw on.
I think they both banked on nostalgia too, though.
Yes.
Nothing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think, as much as I feel like most of the emotional impact that people got from that Spider-Man movie was seeing these old Spider-Man and then seeing all the Spider-Man interact with each other. Like, I think, and bringing back all these villains, they made it work as best as they could, given all the things, I guess.
It's a ridiculous concept. So the fact that they managed to do it is impressive.
But it's so hard to just not feel something when they're all swinging together and fighting all these bad guys together.
I mean, I feel like even bringing back Norman Osborn, I'm forgetting that.
Willem Dafoe
as Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
Just such like, I mean, for everybody who saw the original movie, especially when it came out, it's just so crazy to see him reprising that role.
Exactly.
So stuff like that, I mean, it makes the movie worth it.
Yeah.
Also, forget the other dude's name, but Dr. Octopus and Spider-Man too.
Yeah, Alfred Molina.
So cool to see him back.
Yeah. And even like, and I did not like the Amazing Spider-Man movies, the Andrew Garfield ones.
But somehow they brought it back in a palatable way.
Yes, but
because those weren't very critically acclaimed.
No, they were not very good. But my very controversial take is I think Andrew Garfield was the best Peter Parker / Spider-Man.
But you didn't like the movies.
No.
So you think he just didn't have a good opportunity?
I think that his performance was like exactly what I had always envisioned Peter Parker and Spider-Man to be. I think the big issue is that the writing was just not there.
Yeah.
But seeing him interact with like everyone, I'm just like, like he's like the guy. He's doing a great fucking job.
I think I'm just biased. Toby is my fair. Spider-Man forever.
I mean, Spider-Man 2, I think, is the best of those.
It's Toby. And I know I'm wrong. The funny part is I know it's not Toby. Toby's too old. Toby is just too old to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's just like he just... in my childish brain, I remember all those movies. Like you said, Spider-Man 2 is so awesome.
Yeah.
Those movies are so good. My fantasy of like an alternate universe where Spider-Man 4 did come out and it wasn't stolen from Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
That exists somewhere in my mind.
I mean, like, I remember I would have been like...
I think it was Electro. I forget who the guy was.
I think they were going to do Electro.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember being like 11 and going to see Spider-Man 2 in theaters and being like fucking terrified in the hospital scene where all of like and then like growing up and learning, like seeing the Evil Dead, and you're like, wait, why is this familiar? And then you realize it's just the same guy doing the same old. It's Sam Raimi doing the, because he did Evil Dead, he did the original Spider-Man trilogy.
But you mean like it's very similar, and like I don't think I've seen Evil Dead in a long time.
Where it's just a lot of like POV shots, the way that the sequences are cut together. It's very reminiscent of his work in horror. I mean, like
another
he's
thing about that scene that you mentioned, by the way, is there's no gore in that scene, which is crazy. If you watch it back, the amount that is probably the most violent scene you'll ever see with zero gore.
Yeah, I think especially for that series, like that, for that trilogy, that scene in particular sticks out in my mind like crazy because it's
that was a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, it scared the shit out of me when I was 11.
Right.
And watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is great. It's just great filmmaking. I think of all the live action Spider-Man movies, I think that second one is the best by far.
Yeah. And I mean, like, also just, again, it being hard to place, like, where things came in time. Like, Sam Raimi was doing something else when he was making those movies.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had the Batman movies before that.
The Tim Burton ones,
you mean? Yeah. So we had went there with comic book movies, but never quite like that in a modern sense.
Yeah.
Nobody was willing to take it on again. And Spider-Man, like, and it just, with it getting into Marvel and that whole conversation, like, it's so... Avengers took over, and if without Spider-Man and that domino effect, and Spider-Man into Iron Man into everything else, I mean, like, there was a world not that long ago where superheroes weren't what they are now. They weren't cool per se.
I mean, they used to be. I mean, like, there's a reason why Disney wasn't able to use Spider-Man for so long. It's because, I think it was the 90s, they had no money, and they were just like, okay, when you're just gonna like sell off a bunch of our IP to various studios. So, like, that's why Fox got the rights to X-Men, and then they did their X-Men movies. Sony got the rights to Spider-Man, which is why they did that. And so that's why now you have, for a while, Spider-Man was basically, like, on loan. Like, from, I think it still might technically be on
the Venom
loan.
movies, right?
Yeah, that's why we got the Venom movies. That's why we got Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, which are... Into the Spider-Verse is like my favorite comic book movie of all time.
Yeah, but it's a different animal.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's so much different than anything else. But but anyway, like, so they basically, Disney is just like, hey, we want to like borrow Spider-Man for this, and Sony's like, all right, but you got to put our name, you got to put Sony in the credits or whatever. And then they finally were able to buy back the rights to, or once they acquired Fox. They're just like, all right, now we've got the X-Men back. Now we can have Hugh Jackman and Deadpool together, and we can have we can bring back Fantastic Four and do a new Fantastic Four movie. So it's all just corporate bullshit. The whole thing is just corporate bullshit. But like you asked before, like, current state of like Hollywood, like big Hollywood, totally fucked. But I still can't help but think there's a lot of good stuff that shines through that just does not get the attention that it should.
Like,
where do you want me to start?
I mean, I think it's a good question because, like, again, I think we forget who we are, right? Like, I forget who I am. I am a unique person, and if I were ever to slow down and really think, like, man, I do probably have insights that other people wouldn't have based on who I am. So with you being in mind and your interest in movies, you could probably tell someone a lot about where to start with movies that are actually worth watching. Because I think a lot of people don't want to waste their time on bad movies. And I know how you feel about bad movies. You think that people should watch bad movies.
Yes.
But I think that even that's a statement that is not so simple, because there are movies that are bad.
I will say that because I try to watch everything as open-minded as possible, and I try to watch like everything.
Yeah.
And but there are sometimes where I'll just like be scrolling through and I'm just like, oh, what the fuck, like it'll be like Netflix will be like, you should watch this, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this garbage, like I don't want to watch that. But like it's there
was this movie that was in theaters when my mom was visiting. She's like, let's go find a movie. And I remember watching the trailer with her and being like, there is no way this is going to be a good experience for us to go. Like, it was one of those like bad ones where I was like watching it like, there's just no way. Like, this is one of those movies. What was it for? I don't want to describe it too much because I don't want to be a public hater. Okay. But like, it was one of those movies where it was like,
be a public hater.
I can't remember it too. I want to say, who's that singer that's always like, he's kind of notorious for, he got molested when he was younger. He kind of broke the seal on all these stories in Hollywood, but he's known for having, like, he does pop music, and it's
Robbie? That's not Robbie Williams. The Robbie Williams biopic?
No.
Okay.
He's pretty popular though. I'm not gonna remember his name, but he was part of this movie. Gosh, I wish I could remember his name. And I'm not even being I'm not being a public hater.
Sure.
I'd love to talk with anyone involved in this movie.
Yeah.
Sit on this couch. But dang, dude, I wish I could remember the guy's name. Yeah, nothing's ringing a bell. He was like one of the he was part of, I think, a boy band or something, like a child actor. I think he's one of the child actors from like the 90s. He's Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman. There it is.
Okay.
Do you know? You ever do that where you hold your phone like you're about to look
and then
something
it comes
up?
To you. Yeah.
God, that's so weird. That's what I just did on camera. As soon as I held my phone, it came to me.
Yeah.
It's like you don't even have to look stuff up. You just have to hold the thing, and it's a psychic device.
Yeah.
Beaming information into us.
Right.
The
crazy.
5G is real.
Yeah.
Corey Feldman has entered my brain. But
Yeah.
it was him. And so like he's part of the movie. If anybody can find it, let me know in the comments what the name is. It's like a little artsy, like public artsy film.
Sure.
And it's about two chicks and they're like it's like, fuck the patriarchy, like socially aware movie type of thing. But
Okay.
like they're really leaning into the socially aware aspect of it.
Okay.
And like also like it just, I could tell it's one of those movies where it's going to take itself a little too seriously. It's not going to be paced well. It's not made by, this is no masterpiece.
Sure.
And I don't even need to see a masterpiece, but like this is going to be one of those movies where I'm going to be halfway through like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so you can tell by a trailer. We were talking about trailers before we started. There are trailers where maybe the trailer was deceiving. Maybe this was a good movie.
Yeah.
But I'm also a firm believer.
That does happen.
Read reviews, folks. Read reviews. Now, I don't think you should read a lot of reviews. I don't think you should. But when you know a movie is like something that you're already skeptical about, then you read. It's like going to a restaurant. You see the restaurant's in a bad area, you read a review. So if a movie's not made by somebody where you trust them, maybe read a review. And I remember I read a lot of these reviews and I was like, okay, yeah, my intuitions were correct. But all this being said, you're right. You're right. There are bad movies worth watching. And maybe I'm wrong. And my whole thing is this is all my bias showing. And this is also a bad movie worth watching that I'm just, because I think it's like, it's one of those, it's like rap music. There's so much rap music I don't like.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's for me.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm totally in the same boat. I mean, I think that most movies are like fine.
Yeah.
Most movies are fine. They're competently made.
Yes.
I think that, what works for someone won't work with someone else. Just last night I showed my fiance William Friedkin's Sorcerer.
Okay.
And I think that movie's a fucking masterpiece. I think it's just like every time I watch it, I'm just like totally floored by it.
Because
you want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
I think that it's so clearly a passion project by William Friedkin. I think the story it's based on The Wages of Fear, which is a French book, and then they turned it into a film, and then he wanted to adapt it into like it's his own thing. And this was after he had already found crazy success with French Connection and The Exorcist in the 70s. And the story begins with the film begins with these characters. The first 30 minutes is just setup. And it's kind of like this slow burn of just setting up who all these people are and these fascinating different backgrounds that they all come from. And then do you know the gist of the story at all?
No.
So they basically what ends up happening is all these criminals, they're literally just con men of different varieties, and they all end up meeting in this small town in somewhere in remote Mexico. And their task that they're given is they have to transport this fucked up dynamite. Because the dynamite leaks, if it's not turned over, it leaks nitroglycerin and it becomes liquid and it becomes extremely volatile. So they're like, we're going to put you guys in these trucks and you're going to transport these crates of dynamite to this site that needs the dynamite. And yeah, the first 30 minutes is just set up. But then the last about the last hour and a half or so, the meat of the movie it's just pure suspense. Just pure suspense from start to finish. It becomes, at a certain point, this like bizarre, like dream-like, like existential scenario. And I think it's just all about, like overcoming these like stupid, insane odds, and how, like how these four strangers, these four completely different people who are these like bad guys, I mean, they're just like, they're killers, they're con men, they're, like terrorists, if you want to call them terrorists or whatever. And just how like learning about how they all come together and to, like overcome these insane odds against them, because they're literally just on like a suicide mission. I think it's just fascinating from start to finish. And I think the filmmaking is just perfect. The score is incredible. The sound is amazing. It's just so beautifully constructed from start to finish. And my fiance was just like, I thought it was boring in the beginning. And I'm just like, no, like because I love the opening, because even though it takes a while to get to the intense, the suspenseful stuff, I love the character introductions. I love just getting to learn these people through these like short vignettes. Because I think they're all fascinating people, even if they're not good people, they're interesting people. But I definitely, there's one of those movies where it's like every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, like here's something new that I'm kind of like learning, something new that I'm seeing. But I also like fully understand why people would watch them and be like, yeah, this is kind of boring.
Yeah.
But I feel like they can go for any number of filmmakers. They could go for David Lynch too. It's just like, okay, when's the movie gonna start? Like, well, we're already like an hour in, And
it reminds me of the whole like showing someone something you think is funny.
Yes.
And then like just that whole like, oh, they didn't laugh. Oh, that whole thing. Or, okay, it's over. Like they're waiting for it to happen. It never happens. You just pull your phone away awkwardly.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's funny though, because like, there's a scene in the film where they have to get these trucks across a bridge, a rickety bridge.
Yeah.
And that's like what the movie's known for. And as soon as that happens, my fiance, she like sits up and she's like leaning forward and she's like locked in.
Right.
So like, okay, like once it gets to the crazy shit, that everyone kind of like comes for, but I think that it works because of that slow setup.
Right.
But that's just me.
That's all film, right? I mean, it's just a matter of how much you can get away with that. It's always, it's all pacing. I've even read that poetry, in a sense, is that. It's all writing is suspense, release, release, and a constant game of doing that forever. It's kind of everything.
And it's
master. Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Hitchcock. Yeah, forgetting his name, but he probably is one of the few people who's like spoken on that and broke it down in a way that no one else ever really has.
Yeah, and
the power you have.
It is so fucking hard to write that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've written
into a script, you mean?
Oh yeah. It's really fucking hard. I mean, but I also think that, at least from like a creative standpoint, I think a lot of people do it subconsciously. I think that, in reading, I mean, like you could read books and stuff like that, but it's one thing to actually like apply it and do it.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's like one of the few things that's easier done than said.
Yeah,
you learn it through doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like
creating suspense and learning the methods through which you can do that is a really hands-on thing, I would say.
Exactly. But it's like
kind of like improv. You have to learn to use your brain to do it properly.
Especially when and I think that there's. I mean, I think that editing is just as important as writing. I think editing is different.
Yeah.
Editing is just like it's like the second draft.
Yes.
Or it's the final draft. You call it the final draft, but like
and editing properly done elevates the writing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I mean, we can go back to talk about loads, but like I had.
That's what we're here for,
That's
baby.
what we're here for. Yeah, I've been talking for what, hour 15 or so.
No, it's all right. It's just
all good. Yeah.
That's one of my gifts is I can just bring people to beautiful landscapes that have nothing to do with what they came here for.
But that's fun. I mean, like it's not it's not like you've sit down with a list of questions that you're going through. It's just like you just let the conversation go, and then it's like, oh, we're back to where we started, back to why we're here.
Yeah.
But
well, and I think that like I also think that there's a lot you could say. I mean, I think that I firmly believe this. I think people trick themselves into believing otherwise. I think like you have 98% in common with almost anybody, and it's just all about the way you conduct yourself. So like if you treat everybody as a peer and you do that, you will just have a conversation. Like that's why we can talk about movies for an hour and a half, because I know you know about movies, so I could just go on, dude. I know about movies. I mean, I love movies. You just probably have I know you have a wealthier knowledge of like
different knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say wealthier, I'll say different.
I like that. Yes, because like it's just that
like you've read that screenwriting book. I haven't. So I read other screenwriting texts, and I've you could read however many things, see however many things, but it's like it's a different kind of knowledge, different knowledge.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great point. And your tastes are so unique no matter who you are.
Yeah.
So you could be a guy who's seen 5 movies, but you still are some type of you're some type of genius, and someone could hand you a camera and you'll make the best film known to man. Like you don't have to know anything. So it can go any which way. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting perspective for sure. Because I mean like it doesn't matter what you've seen. That really is true. But like sometimes I'll see things and I'll be like, how have I not seen this my whole life? That's the best feeling.
My favorite feeling is sometimes it's revisiting, sometimes it's watching for the first time. But whenever someone's like, oh, this is like one of the best movies ever made, and you're like, is it though? And then you watch it and then you're like, yeah, that's probably one of the best movies ever made.
Like, downloaded on this computer, ready to go for me. I just got it the other day and I know that's what's going to happen. 2001 A Space Odyssey.
I was literally just about to say, like, I had seen... The first time I watched 2001 was I was in high school. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I was like 15, right? I watched it once in college when I was in film school. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. I like it more than I did when I was younger. I think the third time that I had seen it, third or fourth time I had seen it, was I saw it, I watched it in 70 millimeter at the Music Box. And that was like an eye-opening experience where I'm like, oh, I get it now. Like, I understand why this is called like one of, if not the greatest movies ever made. Like I understand.
Was what did it?
I think seeing it, because it's such a huge movie.
Especially for its time.
Exactly. And not just in terms of like, importance, but just like the scale of it is just massive. Like it takes place all throughout space and time, and the gaps in between space and time. And, the first time I had watched it, when I was in high school, and I was just kind of like starting my film watching journey, I guess, was I watched it like off a fucking DVD on my laptop, because that's where I watched a lot of movies when I was in high school. And, there's something about watching it, in a theater in the biggest way possible, with a group of other people, with an intermission and everything. And, and I think after I'd watched it, I'd watched, I picked up the disc on the 4K release of it and watched it, with the sound bar and everything and the 4K TV and whatnot. And it's just like watching that again after having seen it in theaters, you're just like, yeah, okay, like it's sort of like what was imprinted on me when I saw it in the theater has remained, it's still there. But like another one like that is like Seven Samurai. The first time I had seen that when I was in high school, I had bought the Blu-ray and I watched it again. And it's like 3.5 hours, but I'm like, I understand why everyone calls this like one of the best movies ever made.
Black and white, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anytime I watch Alien, the original Alien, I feel that way. Amadeus is one of those movies where the last time I watched that was, I went to go see, they did like a...
Who directed that?
Amadeus?
Yeah.
That was Milos Forman.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But
last time you went to see it?
Yeah, last time I went to see it was at... it was actually one of those like in-concert things at like the Philharmonic or something like that. Ooh. So they play the soundtrack to the movie. Cool. So you're like literally going to the orchestra to like watch them play Mozart, like with like a whole thing. And it was just like and I already love that movie anyway, but like watching it in that setting, it's just like eye-opening. It's just you see and you hear and you feel things that you haven't felt before. And I think that, you know, like watching those like critically important movies, watching them repeatedly, watching them in new settings, watching them with different people, watching them with like life context is so just like affirming to like the art form and to your soul. You know, like it's such a, you know, it's so important to just like rewatch things and you know, just like when people tell you that a movie is good, maybe just like take their word for it.
Yeah.
You know, not all the time, obviously, but you know, you know, I think it just kind of depends on what you're watching and you know, and just like, again, like what your tastes are. You know, I know that some people might not appreciate, they might not like something like 2001. I get it.
Yeah.
They might think it's boring. I understand. I fully get it. And I'm not trying to say that anyone's like wrong for thinking that.
Well, that's kind of like the whole point, though, is that there's a beauty in the fact that you can go back to it, have your own interpretation. What's good to me is not good to you.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of all of it.
Yeah.
Know, is that we can watch these movies and take away completely. I mean, like the whole meme thing with, what was it, Barbenheimer or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They're so radically different, but they're both in the box office at the same time.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I think part of it, was kind of like the Hollywood machine trying to create something. But at least it's a good sentiment, right? Like, we can have these radically different, artsy kinds of movies in the box office at the same time and do that. And they can be good for completely different reasons. Like Barbie doesn't have to be serious, and Oppenheimer doesn't have to be fun. They can be two completely different movies. And that's good. We shouldn't have a homogenous... I mean, like... That's what's so scary. Again, with Marvel, I mean, it's like, I don't know if it's still like this, but there was a point in time where you look at the showtimes for a theater, and almost every single screen they've got is rented out to Marvel showings. They're barely using any of their space for other things. And that's not a good place to be.
You know? But I think that what Hollywood really needs is, and I think they need to, it's a lesson they need to learn, is they need more movies like Sinners. Did you see that by any chance?
No, but you mentioned it. Yeah.
Are you familiar with it at all?
No.
So it was, it came out, I think, like in April, I think, and April or May.
Wait, was it the tennis movie?
No, that's Challengers.
Okay. Close.
But Sinners was, it's written and directed by the guy who did Black Panther.
Okay.
Who's, for whatever reason...
What kind of forever?
His for whatever reason, his name is completely escaping me. I don't know why. But he's a great filmmaker, and it was something that he had written, something that he had directed himself, and it was like a really big box office success. I mean, they shot it for, I think, like 90 million or something like that, and it's made like 300 or 400 million at this point. Like, it's done really well at the box office, and I think, part of it was marketing, part of it had really, really strong word of mouth. Vampire movie, black vampires in the Jim Crow South. Michael B. Jordan.
I was just about to say it. Michael B. Jordan, and then that girl.
Hallie Steinfeld.
There's that scene. Yeah, yes. I've seen that clip on social media. It is coming to me as you were saying all that. Yes, because she's talking about. You said you love me. I thought you said you love me.
Yeah.
And then he's like, bitch, I never said that. And then she's like, oh, you said that when you was fucking on stuff that we can't say here on Ruse Radio because that's inappropriate. It's a great clip. It's a great clip.
Yeah.
That's how I was introduced to that movie. Probably me and everybody else. A lot of people.
But I think word of mouth was crazy, and it was a massive success.
I didn't know that was that new. I thought it was an older movie.
Yeah, no, that came out recently.
Okay.
But I think what's interesting about that release is that they had a really strong marketing campaign. They sold it pretty well, but also in that second weekend, it had very, very small drop off box office percentage wise, because of word of mouth.
Yeah.
People go see it. They say it's fucking incredible, and then it's like, all right, what are we doing this weekend? Let's go see it. So and so said it was great. I think word of mouth makes a huge difference, but also giving those movies the opportunity to actually thrive in theaters is also hugely important.
Yeah.
I think that so often, at least nowadays, like in the post-COVID era, movies are pulled from the shelves so quickly, and I think it really damages, like the cultural impact that a movie can have.
Right.
So I think a film like, a movie like Sinners, people are going to walk away from it thinking, or some people, like executives, would be like, oh, well, it was a movie about, black vampires in the Jim Crow South. Let's make more of those. But that's not the takeaway. The takeaway is that, like, this guy made a really fucking good movie and people liked it. So it's like, okay, like, what about the movie did people like? Like, kind of breaking that down, and, like, less about the fact that it's vampires in the South and maybe more about the fact that it's something that a lot of people have not seen before, or they haven't seen that story presented in that way. So much of the movie is about like the blues and black music in that era, and the movie is more about that than it is vampires, right? And I think that allowing the movie to take a few like really big swings and kind of explore that, I think it helps build character relationships. It helps build it helps build tension. It helps build tone. It helps build, something that I had never seen before. I mean, surely you could say like, oh, well, we've got, Blade's about a black vampire, or here's about a vampire about movies in the South or whatever. Like, I think that studios, what they do is they take a lot of these surface level things that they extract from it, and they want to make movies about that. They think that that's the selling point, when the reality is, you've got Michael B. Jordan, as these like gangster, he plays a pair of twins, and they're just these two like, completely different characters, but they're both fascinating in their own way. The way the characters are introduced, it's just good writing. It's just good filmmaking. Like, the dialogue is great. The cinematography is awesome. Just everything about it's just really good. Like, they literally just let this guy make a good movie, and it did well. Yeah. And I know it's obviously more complicated than that, but like, I think that if studios let filmmakers make the movies they want to make, I think that, and if they had faith in those filmmakers.
Yeah, but see, that's why I think it's like wishful thinking, and it's like, it's just
it's completely wishful thinking.
Yeah, because that's why I'm with you. I'm totally with you. That's
why I'm saying they should let them do that. They won't,
right?
But they should.
Yeah.
But part of me is like, I don't know. And again, this is just me. Like, I feel like I see enough terrific movies every year.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, and I know, of course, it's just me, right? Because I know not everyone watches the same stuff. Not everyone's like as like in tune with it. But like, I watch enough great movies every year where I'm like, oh yeah, like everything's great. Like everything's fine. I mean, I know that's not, but it's hard for me to be pessimistic about it when I can still go see movies that are good, or movies that are unique and different.
I think that the real difference probably comes from the fact that, like, to be someone who enjoys films and to be someone who enjoys long form content is just not the regular thing for most people anymore.
That's fair.
And that's, again, like bleeding into the way people make things and the way things are funded. I mean, you want to look at Marvel again. A lot of these shows were shows because why make a movie when we could take the same plot and extend it to 9 episodes with subplots, more actors, we'll get way more watch time, we'll hook people for longer. We could achieve so much more if we just stretch this idea out. And it starts to become this thing where, like, I think Breaking Bad was such a good show because when you listen to them describe the writing process, and Better Call Saul too.
Yes, I love Better Call Saul.
So organic. Yeah. And they did the same exact thing with Better Call Saul, where Breaking Bad, they had no plan ever. They were always winging it, to the point where in season 5, there's the cold open where you see that Walt's got, it's a flash forward. You see Walt in this situation that seems like impossible based on how they left off season 4. Yeah. It's like, how the fuck do you get here from there?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's also how they started the show. Yeah. It's the thing they're known for doing. And every time they do that, they basically write themselves into a corner and then find a way to justify it. But the thing that makes them the best is every choice they make, they're never doing something for the sake of entertainment. They're never doing something for the sake of this would be cool. It's all, you can tell. It's always like, what would the character do, and what have we done to establish that this makes sense? It's such good writing. It's like a master class. I think Better Call Saul is written better than Breaking Bad. Just in terms of the way that
part of it for me is at least is recency bias.
Yeah,
but. Yes, I agree.
I just feel like they were in an even more unnatural position to start from. Like, no one thought it would be possible to make someone care about Saul.
I didn't.
Yeah, no one did.
I was one of the doubters, and then I liked season 1, and then like as each season went on, I enjoyed it more.
The show itself is one long slow burn.
Yes.
Like from season 1 on, and in the same way that Breaking Bad was.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how they did it. Like when you're on season 5 of Better Call Saul, it feels so much closer to Breaking Bad than it did when you were on season 1 of Better Call Saul, which is incredible to achieve as a prequel series. Like to actually pull that off in an organic way. Because everything, the thing you see with writing is that trend where it's like, let's take, like you said, this works and this works and this works. Let's take all these things and put them into one thing. And then they don't actually develop a story. They don't actually come up with reasons for this stuff to exist. They write around an idea that they think is cool.
Yes.
It'd be like if in Breaking Bad, they just randomly said, wouldn't it be cool if Walt caused an explosion? But they didn't actually come up with like a plot that would make sense for him to be causing an explosion. They just wanted to achieve the end.
Yeah.
It's like, I think of it like, the means justify the ends, not the ends justify the means. But people write like the ends justify the means all the time now. It's become a trend where like, and nobody's paying attention, nobody's watching. We have to hook everybody, so everything has to be shocking. Everything has to be crazy. You see shows do this now where like that's where it happens. Oh, we're just killing off random characters, but they're not dead. They came back. It was just a shocking moment for shocking, because now I don't trust the show because the show broke its own rules. But that's me because I care about writing. Most people just watch the show. Like Game of Thrones broke all of its rules in the last couple seasons. It's just crazy the amount of stuff that, like the amount of writing, subpar writing that gets by, and you talk to people and people just accept so much subpar writing. I think that Hollywood's now developed this idea of like, this is okay. And that's why Minecraft, like you'll see Minecraft and then fucking what's the Morbius. So Morbius came out and Morbius, the public had this reaction. They were clowning the movie.
Yes.
They're making fun of it. It's Morbin time.
Sony's like, the solution is to put it back in theaters. Like no one wants to see the movie. Like I watched it when it was on Netflix. And when they put it on, all right, I guess I'll turn this on. And it's just like one of those things where it's just like,
you can tell they don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't understand because the movie's just bad. And then when Minecraft came out, now it's even worse because now you have people like, I don't know how much of it's exaggerated, but people going to theaters and causing a scene and just this whole...
I think that's just kids.
I think so too.
That's kids who don't necessarily know theater etiquette.
But it's also, it's the same humor. It's connected to the Morbius thing. It's the same people where it's like, they're not even going for the movie.
Yeah.
They think it's funny, and they're making fun of these people for making a Minecraft movie that's so tone deaf that they will just do all the, like, it's kind of like a meta humor thing that these people are doing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying it's smart, but I'm saying like the whole chicken jockey thing, like Sony's so, whoever's funding these, they're so stupid because they're going to see everyone yelling chicken jockey and go, oh, we need to keep doing these video game movies. This is good.
Yeah.
When none of them have done well. Borderlands was terrible. Every single one before that was terrible. They just keep flopping. But like they learn the wrong lessons from these things when they happen. And I think like it's just, I just don't know how you even fix such a problem.
Yeah.
Because we're in a weird spot with like adaptations. Because now it's video games. Right now it's video games. That's the big thing that Hollywood keeps doing for some reason with Kevin Hart and whoever else they're going to throw in the movie. And Jack Black, he keeps turning up in these movies now. Shout out Jack Black, whose career has had an interesting trajectory.
I feel like he kind of, well...
It's sad. Well,
I was gonna say
early 2000s Jack Black, I think, is peak.
I was gonna say he peaked at School of Rock.
That's it.
But also, I've seen movies that he's been in that I have liked post
Kung Fu Panda. That's 2008.
Panda, yeah, he's good in this movie called Bernie.
Haven't seen that.
That one's really good. He plays like this little like dainty like guy in the South or something like that.
Oh, is it an earlier Jack Black movie?
No, it's like 2013 2018.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's like a true story about this guy who like may or may not have murdered his friend who was like older or something like that. She was like, he befriends like this old lady and then may or may not have killed her because she was being a bitch to him.
I saw that movie.
Yeah,
I did see that movie. That was like popular. That was one of those. It was on one of those lists on Netflix once of like movies to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he like it towards the end. There's a court trial scene or something like that. There's
maybe
some
it's
type
been a
of,
long time since I've seen it.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
But I just remember he's really good. Like I think he's a really talented guy. I think he could push
Some about a
himself,
mortician in that movie, right?
I think he's a mortician.
He's a mortician. Yeah, I think he is. I think that's his
Sure,
career.
yeah,
I think the
maybe.
movie starts with him like giving a lecture, like mortician lecture. You're like bringing a forgotten memory into my mind. I barely remember this because you know what's interesting about it is it makes me think Adam Sandler and Jack Black are kind of the same in that like if Jack Black did more serious roles, people would look at him so much differently. I think he's so like Robin Williams. He's so much capable. He's so much more capable of going deep than people realize because he's and especially now because I think he's went the Ryan Reynolds route of typecasting himself.
Yeah, and I
and I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love Jack Black. I love him.
I love him. I love all of his like Tenacious D work. I think is awesome.
Oh my god, yes.
But I don't know.
Trying not to be a public hater. I see you.
I'm not trying. Well, no, I'm not a Jack Black hater. I don't know. I have like really strong opinions about stuff like the Minecraft movie.
I would love to hear them.
I haven't seen it though, so I feel like my opinions are. And I have also never played Minecraft, so I don't have like a frame of reference.
So with that being said, what are these strong opinions?
I don't even know where to start. Like I guess I just feel like these movies shouldn't exist.
I agree with you.
And I think that I know that they had been trying to get a Minecraft movie made for like a really fucking long time, but I think that there's a difference between something like The Last of Us, where there is a story with characters and stakes and things feel like real. Not necessarily, I shouldn't say real, because I don't mean like realistic in terms of like grounded in reality. It's just like there's a sense of like impending doom and in something like The Last of Us versus Minecraft, where
Last of Us was
like,
basically written like a movie to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, like it's versus something like Minecraft, where like I think when it began, like I don't think it had a story. Like it didn't have, and I think part of it is that like trying to write a story around like a game or a concept or something that's not even like, you know, something that's interactive, I guess, and you know, because I mean like a game and a movie are two completely different mediums, and like, you know, a movie is only emotionally interactive, it's not physically interactive.
Right.
Like you don't have a choice in what is put in front of you in terms of watching a movie, as opposed to a video game where it's just like you can take your time with something, you can play however you want to play, and you know, but I just think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, it just shouldn't exist.
I heard the Fallout show was good. I heard the Fallout show was good.
I heard that was good too. Yeah.
I think it's about the intention, and I think most of the time the problem with all this stuff is you don't have fans of the source material making it. So you have people who just don't really get why people would even tune into this, and then they just make something that doesn't really flow with the source material. It's just kind of like you could tell it's like somebody else's rendition. It's like a cover song, but it's not quite the same.
I think,
but you're right too in the sense that some stuff's just not meant to be translated. Like there's not a story in Minecraft, and it's just a fun, creative game that happens to have a way you could win.
And I feel like I guess you could find a story in that. It's possible.
But I don't. They didn't. They didn't. I don't think they did.
But it's like I think part of it is that like relying too heavily on like memes and that's stuff like that, and relying too heavily on other existing pop culture that
do that with
doesn't
celebrities.
Have like a frame of reference. Yeah, like I just don't feel like that has as much artistic merit.
Right.
I think that for something, you want to go back to talking about Marvel, like the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, if you saw that one.
No.
Like,
but I know what the gist of it.
Yeah. Like, so much of it is like, oh, look, it's cameos.
Right.
For all these people who, like, were in the movie or who never got the movie made or, you know, who only had one Fox or Sony movie or whatever. And it's like, that's, like, the way that they wrote the movie is, like, it works so that way, like, they clearly wrote around having all these cameos and having all these, like, other random people show up. But, like, is it any good? Like, that's debatable because so often it you know, like, the whole fact that, like, Channing Tatum shows up as Gambit because he never got a Gambit movie, like, all right, it's cool, but, like, I don't know who, if I don't know that there was a Gambit movie that never materialized, how am I supposed to know who that is?
And it just gets increasingly like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, when I saw, I want to say it was Doctor Strange, yeah. I was with my mom, and I just remember the whole thing with Professor X being there and John from The Office just popping out, and Jim from The Office, John Krasinski popping out. Just seeing these people I mean, my mom obviously understood Jim, but she didn't know why people are cheering for Professor X.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly. And like, that's frustrating.
It's just frustrating, because it shouldn't be so layered and so complex for the general. For just, if I'm just trying to watch a movie, I shouldn't have to feel like, what the fuck is going on? At a certain point, you're just getting too involved in that world of things, you know, of just, look, it's if you're flashing 30 different previous IPs at me in one movie, you know what the pinnacle of that is the new Space Jam. They went so hard on that with Space Jam. It's like,
I knew you were gonna say. I like didn't want you to say Space Jam.
It's IP vomit, dude.
Oh my god, that was just a painful to watch because what year were you born?
Well, 1998. So
98, okay,
right around OG Space Jam.
Okay, because I was born in 93.
Yeah,
so I'm a little bit older, but I like, you know, Michael Jordan was like the fucking guy.
Yeah,
and I don't think people, you know, like kids these days, you know, like kids these days don't realize just how much Michael Jordan was the fucking guy.
Yeah,
back in the day, and he's not a good actor. But every time I watch Space Jam, it's you know, just puts a smile on my face.
Everybody,
you know,
get up.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, it's like a song, you know,
it's a time capsule.
It's a time capsule. It's like it's like a song you hear when you're a kid and you hear it when you're an adult, and it just like warms you. You know what I mean? And it's just the fucking best. And then I watched the second one, and I just want to pretend like it doesn't exist. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, I think that another movie that kind of did that with less of an effect was, if you saw the Lego Batman movie.
I didn't see it.
They do a lot of random, like, let's bring in all these IPs as Legos, but it's not like critical to the story. It's a little weird, but
kind
also
of like almost like, is it like Family Guy with like little skit moments?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, they bring it back. Okay, it's been a while since I've seen it, but like they bring in like Lego Lord of the Rings and Lego Game of Thrones or whatever,
which is okay, like, if it's the Lego movie.
Yeah,
then it's not Batman.
Yeah, I mean, like, but like they still got like a really good story out of the Batman, and like,
it was
like
Will Arnett, right?
the Lego, yeah, like the Lego version of the Batman and Joker. Like, they did like a good job with, like, you know, the I don't even remember what it was because it's been so long since I've seen it. But like,
those movies are older now,
yeah. But like, they did do a good job, like, with those, like, handling those characters,
right?
And, you know, giving them like a real, like, emotional connection. They're just also like happen to be Legos. You know, like Lego Lord of the Rings or Lego whatever, and it's like it's whatever, but also it's like, you know, the movie's still good and fun.
But does it serve the plot? Did you have to do that?
It really doesn't. But also, I feel like it's such a smaller part that I'm just like, all right, fine. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna cringe a little bit when I see it, but also it's just like, it's fine. Yeah. The rest of the movie's good around it. I'm not gonna dwell on it too much.
It just gets painful. Like, it gets so painful to the point where it becomes beyond parody. Like, now it's Freakier Friday. That's one where I saw the name, and I'm like, bro, no way. Yeah. And then you watch the trailer and you're like, this is like, it's almost like a AI generated movie. Yeah. Like, I know it's not, but it's like, if you were to just ask AI, like, come up with a bunch of like sequels to older movies that haven't been done yet. That is exactly the shit you're gonna get.
It's like the legacy sequel, which is almost impossible to do.
We don't have to do this.
But I think that the exceptions are like Doctor Sleep is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I love that movie, but also
Blade Runner 2049.
2049, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. I like it more than the first one.
Yep.
I just think it's more interesting.
Which is a phenomenal achievement.
Oh yeah, because I think the first one's a masterpiece.
Yep.
I think they're both masterpieces in their own right.
That's another director who's just fucking awesome.
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, he's one of those people who is probably in my top 5. Like I told you, Paul Thomas Anderson #1.
We did. Yeah,
David Lynch in my top 5.
We do have to talk about PTA for a minute.
Yeah,
because I fucking love that guy.
Dude, I love him.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the only directors I've ever found where I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, just do no wrong. Everything he does is amazing.
Yeah.
I would never, ever, ever expect. Like, it's just like, and also he just breaks the rules so much and so many. The way he uses one takes is fucking out of this world.
Yeah.
He uses one takes like I've never seen anybody else do one takes.
Mm-hmm.
He uses music like I've never seen anybody else use music. The way he structures his films, like the way that he'll take a plot and like there's just something about his pacing where every time I watch one of his movies, it's like a certain point where I feel like the movie is just like it's almost like I'm watching people live, and the movie was supposed to end a while ago, but I'm just watching people live at this point.
Yeah.
Like he has a way of pacing a movie where it's so like against the grain. And for most of his movies, the only one I'd say that doesn't really do that is Magnolia. I think Magnolia is very deliberately paced.
Yeah.
But like every other one of his movies, it's like there's this weird way he drags it where it's like I just don't understand exactly what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's really, really good.
But it works.
Yeah.
It works. Everything he does works. And
he's like a very human director. Everything he does feels human.
Yeah. And I think that it's funny because I think that when, at least like, you know, when you're like a teenager and you get into movies, you're like, who's everyone love when you're a teenager? Love?
Scorsese. I would say
yes, but also there's one guy I'm looking for. I know you know who it is.
Everybody loves him when they're a teenager. It's Scorsese.
You watch one of his movies and you're like, oh, this guy's really cool.
Oh my god, I want to get it right. It's Tarantino.
Yeah,
yeah.
Everyone loves Tarantino.
Yeah,
I love Tarantino. I loved him a lot when I was a teenager. I think so many people did. It's funny, like going into freshman year of film school, the amount of people who just want to like be that guy. It's really scary and kind of sad.
Right.
But then like and yes, Scorsese, yes. But I think like, you know, okay, so like a couple years ago, someone that like my mom knew, she was like, oh, this lady I know, like her grandson is like wants to get into movies or whatever. Can he like email you? I'm like, yeah, sure. So the kid emails me. He's like 17 at the time, and he's just like, I love Quentin Tarantino, and I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I love Guy Ritchie. He's like, I love all these sort of like crazy, you know, like crazy directors who are like very flashy and they do all these crazy things, and you know, and it's just like, okay, you have like the taste of like a 17-year-old. And I'm not trying to say that these filmmakers are bad by any means, because I enjoy Quentin Tarantino movies. I enjoy Scorsese movies. I enjoy all this stuff. But also it's just like, you gotta watch other stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta watch, like, because when you're like, oh, I love Scorsese, you're like, I love The Departed and I love Goodfellas. It's like, okay, go watch like Silence. Go watch Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
Go watch, you know, one of his like slower. Go watch After Hours. Like, go watch, you know, just like The Last Temptation of Christ. Go watch like any of his other movies, like of the ones that are like big and flashy and stuff like that. I think the only guy other than like, because like Scorsese, I feel like he's like proven himself since like fucking Mean Streets. Like the guy has done no wrong.
Right.
But the only filmmaker of like being obsessed with like as a teenager that I'm still just as obsessed with now is got to be PTA, because he like backs it up.
Wow.
So like rewatching any of his movies, I'm just like, oh yeah, this guy's like the best.
He was so young when he blew up too.
But I think that he just has like, whatever like intuition, whatever kind of director's intuition he has,
and you listen to him in interviews,
next level.
and you can tell like he's one of those people who just really trusts his intuition. He makes it sound simple. He makes it all seem like they're all just simple choices he's making. And he
did a really good interview a few years ago on Mark Maron's podcast.
I haven't seen that.
I don't remember what year it was. I think it was after he had done Inherent Vice.
Holy shit!
That would have been like 20.
But that's only
14,
like
15,
a little
16,
bit after There Will
like
Be
that.
Blood, so fucking holy shit. Like you're talking after There Will Be Blood, after Inherent Vice.
After The Master. I think
after
it was
the
after The Master.
Oh my God, that movie was my introduction to him.
Yeah.
That movie fucking blew me away.
Unreal.
God, I can't imagine.
I think There Will Be Blood was my first PTA movie.
Yeah.
And I had never seen anything like it before. And then I watched Magnolia. I'm like, oh, I've never seen anything like this. Then you watch Boogie Nights. Oh, I've never seen anything like his movies. And I think that he's one of those few directors that really like backs his shit up with his abilities.
Right.
Like his reputation really just kind of like precedes him, and I think that I think that it's been interesting watching like his evolution as a filmmaker over the years. I love like Phantom Thread. I know that people.
I love that movie.
Like, yeah,
Licorice Pizza. I watched once. I need to rewatch it. But
same.
Phantom Thread, I've seen twice now. Really fucking good.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Really, it's the perfect representation of like a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those movies that he does it in such a strange way, because like most of the time you see a toxic relationship being represented in modern terms, and he does it with completely unconventional characters. I don't want to spoil anything, but like there's scenes towards the end of the movie that they're so relatable in the way that they represent how you will have someone who you so clearly know is not like, this isn't working. Yeah. But for some, like, and the actors sell it so well. I mean,
that's Daniel Day-Lewis for you. Like,
of course he does. But and that girl, she did fucking incredible too. I don't think she's done a lot of other movies.
Vicky Crepes, something.
Shout out
like
you
that.
for remembering.
I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's like Vicky something. I kind of know how it's spelled. But I don't
she
know
did
how
amazing.
Yeah.
And the way that she played that whole like that whole girl who fell in love with him because of the attention he gave her, but also he gives that much attention to his entire craft. Yes. And so now she becomes jealous. And so that becomes the fight. And that is such a fascinating dynamic. And it's explored with such depth because it's fucking Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Thomas Anderson.
But then like it's fascinating because of how I think like he just has such tremendous range as a filmmaker, because he can do something like a British period drama about like high fashion in the 60s. I think it was the 60s. And
it's not really about that at all.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's just like the setting. And and when you watch it, it like, that's how it, it feels like you're watching that. Right. But then he rolls up with something like Boogie Nights, which is it's just like chaos from start to finish.
And again, he was so young when he made that movie.
Yeah, and it's that and like Magnolia, and just like his early work had just such a chaotic energy, and then it's interesting to watch him do something like There Will Be Blood, and then sort of stick with like period pieces for a little bit.
Well, Punch Drunk Love was also in that mix. Right? That was right. It was 2003, so it was post Magnolia.
Post Magnolia, pre There Will Be Blood.
Yep. Which is, I think, a step in a different direction still, though, for sure.
Completely, yeah. I mean, but I think that his early work was definitely felt very chaotic.
A little more like family stuff, though. A lot more family focused, like internal drama.
Right. And then his later work, I think, so much of it is about. I think that's family is.
I think actually, and the more I thought about it, that's
films,
a theme.
But like, it all runs through all of his films.
Because even There Will Be Blood. I mean, the father-son relationship.
Yeah. But I think it's such a radically different turn coming after Punch Drunk Love, and then you see.
In what way, though? Like, how would you define it? Like, how does it change?
How's what change?
His films. Yeah.
So I think his early films. I think most of his films were like had like modern settings, except for like Boogie Nights. But I think a lot of his films are just about like people trying to get by in like their unusual circumstances. I think something like like Punch Drunk Love is just about a guy who's like looking for a connection, and in Magnolia, it's about a lot of people looking for connections and trying to find that like found family and stuff like that. If you want to look at like Boogie Nights, but I think that looking for those connections is something that runs really deep in his films.
Yeah.
But then I think that just like from like a style perspective, it's a lot like there's always like crazy music, and there's always like the camera is so active and the editing is so frenetic, and he gets into sort of, especially with Punch Drunk Love, there's like a certain level of surrealism. I think for something like Magnolia, you look at like the end of Magnolia, and it's just like, with like the frogs raining down, and it's just like, all of his films kind of, like veer off and go into these places that you would kind of like never imagine them.
And that's kind of where I was getting with that. Then, he takes these turns. Yeah.
But then I think with his later films, I say later films, I say mostly like There'll Be Blood and The Master, they're more about, they at least feel like they're more about sort of like this really darker, like American underside.
Yeah.
From, it's less about, well, I guess, it's been a long time since I've seen There Will Be Blood. But I think that idea of like connection and family still runs throughout his films. Maybe not as well, connection, maybe not in There Will Be Blood, but like
it's 100% though a father-son movie.
Oh yeah, family for sure. But like Daniel Plainview's obsession is not with his family. It's with power, and it's with his oil, and finding all that stuff. But he uses
family.
Exactly.
I mean, like
he like uses his son to sort of like get his way in, and things like that. But I
would say that connects, like that tracks with like Magnolia and the father-son and the father-daughter, all that stuff you see in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie's I was talking earlier about movies that you go back and watch and they age.
Like, holy shit.
Magnolia, you go back and watch that, it's so much heavier.
Yes.
You might watch that the first time and be like, damn, that was something. You watch it another time,
yes.
Like, oh my God, it's fucking a dark movie.
Yeah, it's really heavy. It's really messed up.
But it's so well done.
Yeah.
He's doing an impossible task with that movie, like having all these different running threads and getting you as an audience to care and wait for it to connect.
Yeah.
And because the whole time you're thinking, okay, well, this has to make sense somehow.
Exactly.
And then it's frogs.
Exactly. Yeah. But it also at no point does it really feel like that out of place.
No, it doesn't.
Which is the crazy part, and I think that's part of his skill as a director.
One of my favorite,
even though they take these turns, it doesn't feel like it's out of place.
Right. Well, it's making the wrong choice seem right.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes from that from a movie ever is that movie. He says, "I've got so much love in me, I just don't know where to put it."
Yeah.
And that's right after the climax with the frogs ruining something this guy's about to do, and then and again, the frogs being justified in the plot. If it didn't rain frogs, then he would have still did whatever.
Right.
For some reason, it makes sense, and it all
is wild.
I mean, and I think that something like that is a master stroke too, because him doing that is like true to life in the sense, because I mean, what he puts at the very end is like what the kids writes, and this really happened, and by the way, this really happened. But it's like what he's saying with that is like sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. Like sometimes it's the strangest thing that leads to the next thing, and sometimes it is just random chains of events. Or he's not saying that, and that's my interpretation, and that's also what's so great about it.
That's a valid interpretation. I think his early films I haven't seen in a long time. I
don't think I've ever seen Hard 8.
I've
never seen that.
Great, but that's one I want to go back to. But yeah, I think well, for one, I think I'm definitely due for a rewatch of Magnolia and Boogie Nights for sure.
Yep.
All of his movies, really. I watched Punch Drunk Love recently, but yeah, I definitely need to go back and watch his Magnolia and Boogie Nights in particular, because I really loved those when I was younger.
Magnolia
and I know
is...
that if I go watch them, I know I'm going to find something different in them.
Yeah,
so.
you remember how old you were when you saw it?
For the first time or the last time?
The first time.
First time was like 14, 15, 16, something like that. Yeah. So I was young, and I was like, I've never seen a movie like that before. And then it became my entire personality when I was like, 15 years ago.
And as you've established, you're not the only one.
Yes. Yeah. But I think that's a big part of it is that, like, you got to go and watch other things too.
Right.
Like, you really like Japanese samurai movies. You like Akira Kurosawa. It's like, okay, watch like some Ozu. Like, watch some boring movies.
The best advice
awesome.
I've ever heard in terms of like diversifying. I think I heard Nardwuar talking to Tyler the Creator, and I can't remember what like the question was. I just remember Tyler the Creator saying every morning when he wakes up, he listens to 30 minutes of something he wouldn't normally listen to.
I love that.
And that's such good. Like, he wasn't even giving it his advice. He was just saying what he does.
Yeah.
But that is like such an excellent method.
Yeah.
Just for, because I mean, one thing about Tyler the Creator, he's really good at samples. He's really good at pulling sounds from different things. Quentin Tarantino, back to him. He is such a true movie fan. That's why his movies are like that, because he's seen so many movies that he's able to pull from his encyclopedic knowledge of shots and be like, oh, this is an homage to this, and this is an homage to this. And it is. You watch his movies, and it's all homage. It's almost to the point where he's stealing. That's how much homage is in Quentin Tarantino.
And I think that's one of my issues with Tarantino is that at a certain point, it just does feel like he's just kind of like jerking himself off, I guess.
I think that, and he's an interesting character to listen to because he always has an opinion. Like, if you, like, any movie, like the recent one was Joker 2, he had like that opinion where he thought Joker 2 was like a genius movie and it was actually genius. And I disagree, but I get what he was saying.
Sure.
I think he's just one of those guys where, like, you give him a bone and he'll just go all the way.
Yeah,
because he's a nerd. He's a nerd, and he truly loves what he's doing. I mean, like, you can get mad at it, but it is like what makes him him. It's like he is trying really hard, though. Have you ever seen Norm Macdonald's Quentin Tarantino impression?
Oh my God,
it's so
good.
funny.
It's so good.
It's a great example of, like, he's basically way up in here. He's so big. He's such a fucking. I would probably. So funny. Another funny story about Quentin Tarantino. It was a comedian telling this story because he goes to comedy shows a lot. This is something that's known about him now. And there was somebody who, like, the comedian's telling a joke, and then somebody's laughing, and he's like, oh man, like, that guy laughing like a whale over there, just making fun of the guy. Basically, that guy is laughing like crazy. Like, I hate to laugh like that. Making a joke out of the person because people are noticing their laugh. And then afterwards, he goes up to somebody, comes up to him and says, hey man, I can't believe you said that. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, that was Quentin Tarantino you were making fun of. Because he's probably laughing like whatever. I
think I've heard that. This sounds familiar. This sounds like a familiar story.
I wish I could remember which comedian it was.
I'll look
but
that up later.
That's so fun. I want to say, like, maybe it was Tom Segura. That
sounds like a Tom Segura story.
Yeah. I think Tom Segura said it too. I can't remember. It's so hazy. Everything you hear just eventually becomes mush in your brain at a certain point, boys and girls. Some comedian did. And Quentin Tarantino, he's such a strong personality. This is how I feel about life in general. The stronger of a personality you have, the more creative, the more whatever, you're naturally going to be divisive. It's something that comes with being creative. Like, it's impossible not to be, like all these people we think of that have made amazing things, like they are kind of naturally divisive almost always. It's never always like, and usually like when you look back in hindsight, oh, well, they achieved this and this, but when it was all coming out, it wasn't that.
Right. So much of it is hindsight. So much of it is time. So much of it is like, how have we as an audience aged?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. I think that, it's all relative. It's all relative to something else. Like I talked earlier about like Sorcerer. When that movie came out, I'm pretty sure that movie came out literally the exact same weekend as the original Star Wars in 1977.
Wow.
So guess which movie no one saw. And but now when you look, like you can read all these things about how fucking amazing it is, because when it came out, like no one was watching it. Everyone was watching Star Wars.
Right.
So it makes sense that, with time, it's one of those things that ages so much differently. I mean, that's why we have cult classics. That's why so many people, like love like schlocky horror. Like at the time, no one really watched them, but some random company bought the rights to some random horror movie that a few people have seen. They digitize it, they put it out there, and suddenly everyone's
Second
just
life.
like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, but I think that's just all of art. I mean, I think that goes for music, goes for paintings, goes for comic books, goes for illustrate, like anything. It's
when
all,
it's kind of
it's
like
all
the
just so
trusting
relative.
the process thing.
Yeah.
It's like believing that even if it doesn't like get what it deserves now, it could still get that later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because art does age in this funny way. I mean, one person that comes to my mind is George Lucas, and just I mean, I can't only imagine his experience with making the Star Wars movies, making the prequels, and then how he feels now with just the way the public perceives all that, because they were so hard on him with the prequels.
Right.
Everybody was so hard on him, and he was treated probably like a genius for so long before that.
Yeah.
And he knew in his heart of hearts, like, if I do these prequels, it's gonna be a risk. And then he went for it, and then he actually did.
But then it's one of those things where it's like when they came out, like, time has been kind to those
Time
movies,
has been kind to them.
but it's because like I watched them when I was a kid. I fucking loved them. Like I remember being like, for my, what was that? I was like 12 years old when that third one came out. And I remember like going to the theater on my birthday, because that's the only thing I wanted to do is see fucking Revenge of the Sith.
Yep.
And it was just like amazing. Now, like, you go watch them and you're just like, these are a little goofy, or, oh, these are like surprisingly relevant, with like the whole thing in Fan Mess. So they're just talking about like, like trade routes and stuff like that, and blah, 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 and all these like taxation and blah, blah, blah. And just like, oh, that's shockingly, weirdly relevant, 26 years on. But, like at the time, like people were just fucking horrible to him, unless you were a kid. But I don't know. I mean, like the same thing could be said for any of the Star Wars that's coming out now. Kids watch it now. They feel the same way that we felt about the prequels then. And, like 20 years from now, they're going to be like, oh yeah, like Star Wars Episode 8 was fucking awesome. Episode 9 was fucking awesome. I mean, like that, like people will just have these opinions, and it's just how things change and grow. But I think that's, that's one of the things about something like that's huge, like Star Wars, is that just, the perceptions of things change over time. And I don't think that's something that you can't control how that goes. You just kind of have to let it happen.
What are some other movies do you think that like didn't get great recognition from maybe like back then that are good to go back and watch? Like some good, like, I mean, obviously I could talk about Freddy Got Fingered for like an hour. I never seen that.
But that's a movie that a few years ago.
That's like Tom Green's claim to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a few years ago, Nathan and Alex and I, we were watching the Oscars, and then we'd put on Freddy Got Fingered afterwards. I had never seen it before. I was laughing my ass off the whole time. And I think part of it is that, like, do you ever watch like Eric Andre?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just Eric Andre. Like it's like pre-Eric Andre. You can see like where his sense of just pure chaos came from. It's literally just people like screaming at each other for like an hour and 20 minutes. And it's,
it's a movie though.
But it's just like, something, it's just like a series, like there's a plot, there's jokes, but it's just like a seemingly random string of things that are happening that with all these like, loosely connected, like all the plots like kind of loosely connected, but like it's just, so much of it's just like there's a few things of it they're just like shock value, and things of it they're just like, wouldn't it be funny if we like, like did all this like crazy shit, you know what I mean? And it's best seen with an audience, but like I've seen that movie probably like a dozen times at this point, and it's just fucking funny. Like, and I think that it has like a pretty good sized cult following too. I know there's a lot of people who love it. At one point it was literally on like the Criterion Channel streaming service, which is, if you're familiar with the Criterion Collection at all.
A little bit.
Like they have a streaming service, and they literally had it on there for like 2 or 3 months. as just like, you know, like in a collection called like cult classics or underappreciated gems or I don't know, whatever it was. But it's like, you know, it's sitting on the same streaming service, you know, like it's literally like right next to, you've got Freddy Got Fingered right next to like fucking Seven Samurai or something like that. And like, seriously, like it's kind of crazy, like how, you know, like how time has been good to that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, obviously there's some jokes in there that, you know, haven't aged great, but, you know, for the most part, like that variety of humor, that type of chaos, that type of energy, that type of, you know, like physical comedy, that type of performance, like so much of that is like in, you know, so much of that, like from like Eric Andre's show originated, maybe that probably not originated, but like, you know, if you want to look at something more recent that would have been an inspiration for that, totally, the, you know, Freddy Got Fingered.
It's that
absolutely.
brand of humor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tom Green, and also with podcasting, Tom Green did a lot with podcasting, I'm pretty sure. I think he was one of the few people who was like doing a show out of his house.
Yeah.
I want to say it was the whole Joe Rogan clip of him being on Tom Green's podcast and him saying to Tom Green, like, dude, you could do this and make a living off this. Like, it's on camera. Joe Rogan saying to Tom Green. So, yeah, he's probably, he's one of those OGs that's connected to more than people realize. I didn't know he was, because I think that whole brand of humor is ahead of its time. Yeah. And it still has yet to grow. Like, there's still going to be so much more of that, because it's in the way that things have become so meta and all of that online. I think that, like, that's still, especially in, like, the podcast world, I bring him up a lot, but Matan Evan, if you've ever seen any of his stuff.
I don't think so.
He's basically, like, a professional troll. And, like, he's done a lot of, like, he's had a lot of big people on his show now. I'm talking, like, politicians. He had Matt Gaetz on his show, but it's usually it's comedians. Right. But I mean, like, I what it is he's culturally aware of the fact that the internet, either his character that he plays is like, he's a racist Trump supporter, Matan Evan is. So I'm sure, I've only watched the first like 10 minutes of Matt Gaetz. I'm sure what he's doing is, because it's a meta thing he's doing. Yeah. So he's probably, it's amazing he even has these people there. Yeah. It looks like clickbait, and then you hit it and it's real. Yeah. And it's like Matt Gaetz inside his studio, and he's asking him, like, so why do you think Trump is the best supreme leader of all time? And then Matt Gaetz has to respond to that. Like, and it's so it's very of the times. Like, these are the types of things we're gonna keep seeing. Is like people very tongue in cheek, very like, we all know the joke, we all know what people are thinking, and also like trying to get away with, like, the character he's playing can get away with certain things. And that's the joke, is that he's not this character. It's this meta thing. I think, like, it's hard to understand sometimes, because humor has gotten so meta and so like I think Jason Melton, when I had him on this podcast, he broke it down for me in a way that I hadn't heard anybody break it down, where it's like everybody wants to know the behind the scenes of everything now. Everybody, like, it's not just about the movie. Yeah. It's about how the movie was made. It's about who's dating who and which actor is who. It's why these video game movies suck, because it's not about the movie. It's about the actors. It's about the moments and the meme humor and the meta stuff in the movie. It's not about Minecraft. It's about all this other shit. And I think, like, everything is becoming that in this weird way. Films, too. That's why these OG directors doing it the right way is so important. Or people still on the come up doing that, and still, like you said, Sinners? Sinners, yeah. Sinners. I don't want to get the name wrong. But yeah, that movie.
Ryan Coogler, that's who directed it, yeah.
You got it.
It took me a minute. I don't know. I can see his face in my head, and I couldn't put a name to it.
You didn't even have to touch the phone.
Yeah, right?
But yeah, I mean, like, there's just a certain amount of, like, purity in that. I think films should be made just to be good films. I think that's it. Like, just making it for the sake of art. It doesn't have to be a good film, just a film that seeks to achieve something. Yes. You know, like, if it's a silly movie, let's make a silly movie. Yeah. If it's a comedy movie, let's make a comedy movie. It doesn't have to be anything else. Yeah. You know, like, I think even comedy movies are in this weird spot where, like, 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot more organic comedy, and now you don't see as much of it. I wonder if that's different in, like, the indie circuit, if you see more indie stuff, like comedy, because I feel like, maybe. I don't know, I just feel like comedy had a bit, it's weird because comedy has a boom in the culture, like, comedy's popular right now. Stand-up is very popular. Podcasts are popular, but comedy movies still haven't come back around.
I think comedy movies, at least, like, are you talking about like
I mean, like Judd Apatow and that whole run, or even before that, late 90s. You had so many solid comedies.
Yeah.
You had comedy stars.
I think so much of that now, I feel like you've got some of these comedy stars that just want to be like action heroes now. I feel like a guy like Chris Pratt could have been a comedy star.
Absolutely.
I feel like Kevin Hart went from being a comedy star to an action star because he became friends with The Rock. I don't know. I think I'm trying to just in my head think of like good recent studio comedies, but there aren't.
I don't think they get funding.
I don't think they're not as big as they were. I think before it used to be. You know, I feel like now it's like you have movies that like they're not necessarily comedies, but they're just funny. But
I saw this movie Blockers with John Cena, a couple other people. Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
that wasn't too long ago.
Yeah,
I thought that was a solid, a studio comedy.
Yeah,
but like
that one was funny.
But it was refreshing because you don't see them a lot.
It's also just hard to like remember the comedies.
Yeah,
because like you're like, oh yeah, I remember that one. I saw that in theaters, and it's just it's one of those.
Oh yeah,
things
that movie about the guy with the big dick. Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things now where I guess where it's just like, I don't know, those movies are so uncommon now, or any studio comedy that does get made, it doesn't really get marketing. It doesn't really make a lot of money, or if it does, it's kind of like a surprise. But I feel like most of those things appear on Netflix or something like that first.
That's a good point, because you know what? Now that I think about it, there was this movie with Keke Palmer and somebody else.
One of Them Days?
Yeah, that just came out, and that
was fun.
That's a good example of like a studio comedy.
Yeah.
So I guess that is like but it didn't get crazy promotion. I don't think. I only heard about it because like my mom went to see it with my nephew. But I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe that's bias. I don't know. Like maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I feel like they didn't promote that movie like crazy. I feel like they didn't because I didn't hear about it. But maybe I'm not the target audience. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's funny. My mom. I'll tell this story because I think it's funny. My mom. She went to see the movie with my nephew and. She was like, "Oh, I didn't like it. Like it's a hood movie." And like I was like, "Mom," like, and like my nephew was like, "No, it's not. It's not a hood movie." And I'm like, "Mom, like, are you racist?"
Oh my god!
Like, is that what's going on? Are you? Is that what this is? And like, if I should show my mom Friday and see if she has the same reaction. Like that's what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, like it's because
I watched some clips and I was like, "Oh, this doesn't seem too bad." Like, it seemed like a fun. Like, because I think the whole movie is like she has to pay rent, but she's behind on.
Basically the premise of the movie. Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, but it's like it's good. I mean, like Keke Palmer, she's a great actress. She's really good. She's hilarious. I thought the movie was really funny. I mean, like, is it? Yeah, I mean, like, it's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but also it's like that's not what I'm looking for in like a studio comedy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not looking to be like completely floored by something, but if I am, like, hey, that's great. It doesn't happen that often. I can't even think of an example of something like that. But like, you know, I think that like those with it, you know, with like indie comedies, I think are usually more successful because the people have a little bit more creative control over it. But for as far as like studio comedies go, yeah, I mean, like you get a few, but not very many, and then they're not very well advertised. But then they ship them like straight to Netflix after like 2 or 3 months. Like I saw One of Them Days on Netflix, like when it came out. Like I did not see it in theaters, but I remember seeing trailers for it. And I remember when it was out, my fiance and I were just like, oh, like let's go see it. And then we just never got around to it. But it's, you know, like you really just don't see movies like that anymore. At least like as successful as they used to be. Because they used to be like massive pictures. Like they used to make like a shitload of money, and they just like don't anymore. But I think that's a whole other conversation about like the studio system that goes back to like where we were before, like an hour ago.
The bullet point I'll throw on that is rom-coms. I won't get into it, but rom-coms also had their own lifetime that's just completely over. There's a cemetery and all the rom-coms are buried there.
All of the rom-coms are
R.I.P. Matthew McConaughey.
All the rom-coms are straight to Netflix now. They're all straight to streaming.
Hallmark, fucking Hallmark.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, I think there's I saw a great movie that was recently called Materialists that was advertised as a rom-com, but it's not. It just feels like a romantic drama, but I thought it was great. It wasn't funny. It had jokes, but it wasn't like funny. It wasn't like haha funny, but I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But I saw that with my mom, and she was just like, I didn't think that was funny. I'm like, I don't think it was supposed to be funny. And then like I sat with it, and then I was just like, oh, I like it. The more I kind of sat with it, but it's
kind of like what you said before about like the laughs are more not about the comedy, but more like a situational.
Yeah. Or like someone just says something funny because it's like, I don't know, an awkward situation, so they say something funny, or like. But like it gets like really heavy at a few points.
Yeah, which gets us in a good spot because I think that there's a comedy movie that I saw right before we started this podcast that I thought got pretty heavy at a certain point.
Oh, you don't say.
And I want to say a movie I think is called Loads. I think that movie's called Loads. We spent all this time.
Yes, we did.
And before you get out of here, I do want to have us have a solid discussion on Loads.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, like... Let's just start from the very beginning. Where does the concept of Loads even come from? Who says to someone else, hey, let's make a movie?
So the concept for Loads, I was like driving around with Alex somewhere years ago, and I don't remember how it came about. It just sort of happened. The idea that this guy only had like a limited amount of loads he could bust, and... it just sort of like that Justin Timberlake movie where he's got like the time on his wrist or something like that, where it's called like is it called like In Time or something like that?
Yeah.
And he only, something about like his time's running out, and so it's just like, okay,
and the time is the currency.
Yes, yeah. So it's like, what if we did that, but with cum? What if we did that with just jerking off? And it just sort of like. It was one of those things that we would sort of like talk about every now and then, just as like a funny concept. And then when we were developing stuff for Kino Crew, that one just kind of came back. And I had seen a film at that point called Butt Boy. And Butt Boy is about a guy who likes to put stuff up his ass. And without giving too much away, because I think it's best like experienced, Loads takes a lot of inspiration from that on like a tonal perspective. So it's like a very, very, very serious movie with a lot of like very serious things. Yes, with like very serious things happening. But the situation is unbelievably stupid. Like it's so ridiculous. Like I don't want to get too much into it, but like like with I guess. Maybe talking more about like Loads, the premise is just really dumb. Like I'm not ashamed to admit it. Like it's a really kind of dumb premise, but what we were trying to accomplish is really playing it as straight as we possibly could. So like all the dialogue that was written, like in the language of this particular movie, everyone, uses kind of like silly language. They don't do like I did, instead of saying like, oh, I masturbated and blah, blah, blah. They're just like, I busted nuts all over the place or whatever.
Very Yorgos Lanthimos of you.
Yeah. So it's very, so like the sort of like the world
they
that
talk
we
in
wanted
our
to,
language.
Yeah, like the world that we kind of wanted to create was sort of, like
a load
this kind
world.
of exactly like the sort of like the language we wanted to use was sort of like this kind of weird like heightened thing,
right? Well, and I think that like while that's silly, it really does create like an atmosphere.
Yeah, and something that we tried to really work on was like the emotional connection. I mean, that's like the core of any story, that and the characters, and we had written. We actually had maybe like 2 or 3 deleted scenes that we had cut because we were just like, well, for one, it was just too long, but also it's just like, well, like all these things are already like implied. And so we had a scene earlier in the film where without giving too much away, I guess, like 2 of the characters meet, or they have like a brief little like meet cute without knowing who the other one really is. And I don't want to give too much away about the movie. But like, you know, in the editing process, we're just like, we don't really need this. Like, we already have, you know, like we think that these performances are strong enough, and the way that we had written and cut together the previous scenes, we're just like, I think with like a little bit of retooling, we can make this work without these extended scenes.
I think based on what you told me and the information you just withheld, I agree with what you're saying.
Okay.
Like, I saw the film,
Yeah.
and I think the way that things are laid out, if you had kept that in, it would kind of, it would make what happens later less impactful.
Yeah,
as
and
a
that
viewer.
was one of those things that like I had felt like it was important when we were writing it and we were shooting it, and even in the edit, I was like, I really want to keep this. And then Nathan, who co-edited with me, he was just like, you know, his honestly, like, and it's one of those things where it's just like, because I did, you know, I wrote it with Alex and Tim contributed as well, but like, and I had done the initial edit, but I think having someone else be like, no, like we don't need this stuff, like having someone else come and say like, okay, I know you really like this, but also try it without. It's good to have a collaborator who kind of like, you know, kind of like shifts you to like a path that you hadn't considered.
We all like to think our shit does not stink, whether we can admit it or not. And you do need other people. You
need someone to tell you.
The magic, like the how that goes wrong is you get people who don't have good taste and you take their advice. Yeah. That's where that goes wrong.
Yeah.
You have to get people who you know are good, that you've curated, like they see your vision.
Yeah.
And when they give you advice, you listen. Like Tim, if Tim was telling me things, I would listen to Tim. Who was it that told you to cut the scene out? Do you remember?
I think it was Nathan.
Nathan
was just like, I don't think we need this. And he showed it to me without it. And I'm like, no, let's go with that.
Good for you for being able to, because I mean, it's killing your darlings. You hear that one a lot with storytelling.
No, I mean, like completely. I think that, you know, I think that a lot of I was really happy with, you know, like most of the stuff I put together. And I think, you know, when watching anything back, at least for me, it's just like, oh, like I wish I had done this just like a little bit differently. I wish I had changed this or whatever to the shot. I don't know. I like it, but also it could have been done differently or whatever. But still, like, I'm really proud of everything we put together, and I'm really grateful for Nathan and Alex for just being really great, like, collaborators. And, you know, having someone like Nathan and Alex just be like, yeah, like, you know, talking me off the ledge for doing certain things. It's, you know, I think that we all kind of do that for each other.
Yeah.
I know that we've done that a lot for, like, the Gobblehead movies that Kino Crew has done in the past. You know, I think those are, I mean, okay, those are like a completely different animal.
Yeah.
But like having other people that you trust in the creative process to sort of like dictate, you know, how you're supposed to go and you know, the best way to go is always really
and
helpful.
as you said at the very beginning, right? The strengths and the weaknesses and filling in each other's strengths and weaknesses. I mean, that's the most symbiotic relationship you could have with creative endeavors is like to have someone who can pull me back when I need to get pulled back, for someone who can lift me up when I need to get lifted up, like just all those little things.
Yeah.
Because you can only do so much on your own if you're being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you want, again, we all want to think we can do it all. Like we're jack of all trades, but it is really true. Like it's so helpful to have even just one person there.
Yeah. And I think that
to bounce stuff off of.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, to that also, like, you know, like having, you know, like I think one of my strengths is like doing like the initial edit, right? Sort of like piecing everything together,
like
trimming
first
some
draft
stuff.
cut
Yeah,
type
like first
thing.
cuts, but then it's just like I think I did all the editing or almost all the editing on our first Kino Crew movie, Cottonmouth. But you know, usually we'll have like one of us will go and sort of like clean up, you know, here and there. And I think having at least the way that the three of us work together, all sharing parts of the process together, you know, having people who understand like what the vision is, the common goal, and just communicating that with each other, it just helps the end product just be so much stronger.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just makes such a massive difference, you know, as opposed to just like, you know, having just like one person do like everything. It's just like, don't do that. Like it really is just like a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, that's just so important for anything. And then, you know, when you finally do watch it like with an audience and you see how people react to it, that's just like the best feeling, I think.
Why?
Because you just it's like out there in the world, you know, like you spend so much time, you know, working on something that's so personal to you and that you care so much about, and then to finally be able to not just like share it with the people that you care about, but share it with the people who have no idea what to expect, people who you don't know, in a setting where you've experienced, you know, like, what's the best way to word it? Like you go to the movies, you experience art that someone else has made. Now, like, flip that around, right? Now, like, you're at the theater and people are experiencing something that you made. And that's a really amazing feeling. Like,
Right.
that is just, you know, like, to be able to sort of, like, give back to an art form that you've enjoyed for your whole life or whatever, or an art form that you, like, want to contribute to in some kind of meaningful way. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just think that, you know, like, the best times that I've had in terms of filmmaking are watching, you know, things that I've worked on with an audience in a theater. That's just an incredible feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's what it's truly about, and that's why it's such a shame to see streaming and all this stuff become so popularized, because I mean, that's what filmmaking should be. It's just like how music at its core is live performance.
Yeah.
It's an interactive experience that we're supposed to share with each other. Yeah. And like a good film should take us all somewhere, all together. Like it should all be all of us going on this ride. It shouldn't be me sitting on my phone staring at the screen with the headphones on. It should be all of us going somewhere. It's like earlier you described I forget what the show was exactly, but that show with the symphony and they're playing Beethoven.
Amadeus.
Yeah. And
Mozart,
just like what that can do.
Yeah.
Like that is something you could never do through a phone, through a streaming. You just couldn't. And I also think that as a creator, it's very, like what you just said, like giving back, and then also like seeing what people respond to, because it's not what you'd normally predict, and it makes you look at other art differently. It makes you look at the choices of the people you respect differently. Once you've made a couple films, I'm sure that then you go back and look at these directors and you understand on a deeper level just all these different choices they're making. Like, oh, he didn't just do that because of this, or like it wasn't like, the truth is these great directors aren't just great because they're fucking great. Like they also know the best people to work with. They know who their DP is. They know who, like, they know their guys.
Yeah.
It's not just that they're amazing, but you can only understand that once you've been behind the scenes and made a movie or something. So it's like those things too, where you learn to appreciate an art form, and then finally seeing it, you learn the sweat, blood, and tears it takes to get that on a screen in front of these people.
It's exhausting.
Just once. Just one time.
Yeah. It's exhausting.
Yeah. Just getting them to sit in front of the screen even is enough work. To make it is a whole other story.
Yeah.
Those are two different jobs. Getting them to sit there and then making the actual thing. Those are two different jobs. And so just all of that. It makes you learn to appreciate every little bit. And I think like there's nothing like presenting something to people, because you get a certain unpredictability too. You know, it breathes life back into the art. You think it's done, but then you show it to someone and they really respond to this part in the movie. We would have never guessed. Like every time this cut happens, you always get some reaction. It's like little things where it's like, oh, I never would have guessed that when we were making it. That's the stuff I love. It's just the little moments I couldn't have even predicted. I love when I show someone a song and they tell me, oh, this line made me think this. And it's something I've never thought of, like something I wrote, but they had a completely different interpretation. Because to me, then I just did the thing. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Just like a movie, like you said, like that audience and showing it to them and that reaction. That's the meaningful part. It's so cool.
I agree completely. Yeah.
Because now
you
there.
can
I
share
think
it. You're sharing and it's out there and it's, it's like, it's not yours anymore. It's everyone's.
Yes, and it's not yours anymore, and it's not this like formless idea that it once was. Yeah. Now it's something real. Yeah, that's cool too. Because I mean, like again, loads. It was once just this joke that you said to someone.
Exactly, and now it's like a thing that people are going to be able to see. I mean, right now we're in process of submitting it to film festivals and things like that, and
I think it's got a good chance because it's a great concept. Yeah. It is a great concept for sure. It's unique.
There's a lot that we haven't heard from yet. There's a couple that I think they changed like their deadlines or whatever, but we're optimistic. We're hoping it gets into a few places, and pretty soon we're going to be screening it at like some local places like around the city.
I mean, if someone's watching this and they're intrigued, like how would they expect to be able to find it? Because this podcast comes out about a month from as we're speaking.
It's going to be available on YouTube. It's going to be available if you just like follow our social media, Instagram, Facebook. We have an email list, an email newsletter that we're going to start putting out every month. We're going to start that soon. So if anyone wants to find us at Kino Crew Productions on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, that's where they can find it. I mean, not yet. We don't have like a firm release date to the public yet.
Teaser trailers on YouTube.
But we're doing a little bit of a festival circuit run first. And then we're going to have screen at a couple things around the city. And then a little bit after that, or around that time, we're going to have it available for the public.
Yeah, because I feel like, honestly, like short films nowadays, YouTube might be the move. It might be. Yeah, I mean, you see comedians drop full specials on YouTube. Yeah. And it used to be this world where you film a special, but you don't put it on YouTube. Yeah. You film a special and you give it to a studio, but we really are in a world now where you kind of are the producer. You kind of are the person who just puts it out there. You don't need a studio to market your movie. Yeah. You could just have an organic cult following from YouTube. Yeah. So I mean, but with that being said, I 100% agree. Let it have its own press run before you give it to the public. Yeah. Let it develop a conversation. Yeah. I mean, especially, I don't know enough about the film circuit. I'm sure that that's the general lifespan of a movie is you do your best to get it. You make it, the thing is done, it's a miracle, it's living, it's breathing, it's walking. Now we get it in front of... Now we get it in front of a studio, now we get it in front of people, and boom, it's happened. Yeah. Like that's kind of the... I imagine that's the lifespan of a movie, is you get it to a festival. And then if you can't get it to a festival, now we're looking for any means possible. Yeah. That's probably it. Yeah, the festival is kind of like... the Hail Mary. I imagine that's like the Hail Mary of the movie world is please, dear God, Sundance, watch our movie.
Well, we're not submitting anything like that. There's a lot of local places around the Midwest, and just, there's a few around the country that sort of fit with what we're doing.
There has to be so many, right?
Yeah, there's lots.
Just local ones.
Yeah, local ones, and there's a couple like nationwide ones that we're keeping our fingers crossed on. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for people to see the movie when it's like out in the public and stuff like that, and that's loads for you.
I know we have to wrap up.
Yes,
but I have to ask you this before we go. How do you make the fake cum? We need to know where the fake cum comes from.
So Alex and Nathan were the geniuses behind how we did this. It's kind of a long story, and I don't have enough time to go into it right now, but basically for something that I was doing at my actual day job, I do the occasional bit of video work, and this is back in like 2019, and we had to do something that did require fake cum. So Nathan put together some options using methyl cellulose, and then it was just a matter of like adding that in water and figuring out like consistencies for what you need, because that's really all it comes down to. So
all it comes down to, folks. And if you want to know more about that, make sure to stay tuned for the next time this man appears in the show. He'll tell us all about why he needed to make fake cum for his previous job. That's the mystery we're gonna leave them with. That's Who Killed Laura Palmer. Oh my God, why did he make fake cum? I think that's a good question. And I think, you know what? That's also, I want to see you in the comments. Give me your reason for why you think he made Fate Come. If you had to guess why for work you would make that.
Not for pornography.
And that's
not
your
for pornography.
clue. That's the clue.
Not anything. I can't say too much because it is like I still work there, and it's like client stuff. But all I can say is that was something that we did. So
you told the people where you could find Kino Crew, right? Kino Crew on Instagram, Kino Crew on YouTube, Kino Crew Productions, right? That's where you're gonna find you guys everywhere. Is there anything else you need to tell them about how to find you online, anything like that? And then second, last thing we always do on the show is you got a final message. You want to send it home with the piece of advice for the people watching. This is your moment to give them your nugget of wisdom. So 3, 2, 1, go. The floor is yours.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Is that it? Is that your statement?
You know what? It felt like the right creative choice.
I think what it lacked, I think what you could have done better, if I'm going to give you a critique.
Sure.
You should have just let it breathe for like maybe a longer one. I like that. That felt good.
Felt better. That felt better.
That felt a lot better.
That felt better. That felt like I was bloated and just... Yeah.
And with that tension being released, rising tension and dramatic tension, screenwriting, folks, we're smart. Reefer Madness. With all that being said, Ruse Radio. Clocking out. Double down, competition couldn't help him to rock. Missed the whole time, holy fell through the flock. That's an ordinary miracle, wealth to the block. It's a balance in the character that's calm and collect. It's apparent his caricature is lost in the mess.